space, which is being broadcast here. You're going to be recorded for sure. Actually, I didn't even start the fucking YouTube shit. That's unfortunate. Space. There we go. Anyway, let's start this again. Welcome to the No Filter Podcast. This is your host, Gamecast, which is going to be changing his name very soon. I just need to figure out what I'm going to change it to. I have an idea, but I'm still thinking about it. We'll see. But if you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, which is also called Gamecast, which is soon to be changed. Or you can do the Twitter handle at Sir303. So now that that's out the way, if you decide to jump onto the Twitter space for which YouTube is recording all of this, you will be recorded. That is my disclaimer, whatever you want to call it. And we are going to begin with the two subjects that we have today. Actually, we're not going to begin with it. What we're going to do is wait for the room to actually fill up a little bit. And of course, just thinking, I got a little bit of story time for you, right? Let me just make sure. Get the fuck. There we go. Done. Five in a row coming up. Okay. All right, cool. Got a little bit of story time going on, man. This one isn't personal. I can tell you that. Not personal at all. Not at all. What this is though is some interesting shit happens on Twitter and in the real world. And it's kind of concerning. I can hold you. Really concerning. It's very interesting to kind of see how things have changed so drastically over the course of like fucking 3 years. It's pretty insane. But I will say this. What's going on, Jemiah? It's good with you. I will say this though. I was engaged in a conversation on Twitter. I saw something I didn't like and I commented on it. And what I didn't like is the fact that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they've altered the art of a character. And I'm assuming it's just to kind of appease fat ass, ugly people. And I'm not even going to hold back on this one because that's what it typically is. Because if somebody looks nice, no one complains about depictions of sexual characters or characters that are sexualized, right? So what ended up happening over time is that America, at least over here, I can only speak for us, they got fat. They got really, really fat. It is really, really difficult to remove fat from your body. And so instead of fixing the issue, what was actually done is to shame everything that is associated with fitness, including myself. So anything that you see, especially old school games, you get this situation where it's almost as if men are blamed for the characters that they draw. So if a guy wanted to draw an ideal woman in his head, regardless of what it is, then he'll get shamed and then called incels and all this other fucking shit. You know what I mean? Off rip. Same thing happened with The Last of Us a couple of days ago when, you know, people made some observations about a character in the first Last of Us. They flat out said that, you know, the character looks much, much older. And immediately you got a group of people, loud, extremely loud minorities that claim that you were an incel because guess what? Because you stated what you saw. You know, she looked older. And that was the end of it. You was, people sat there and they said, "Oh, you just want a sexy girl. Yeah, apparently, you never touched a woman before." Like, what the fuck? I can't mention that something visibly looks older to me. Is there a particular crime for which I committed because I mentioned someone looked older? Is it because she's not a real character? I've seen this earlier too. I believe there was a movie. Uh, One of the guys, like I think it was Tom Cruise and some other character that he played in a movie with. And you already know what Tom Cruise looks like. He takes care of himself, or who knows what the hell he does. Maybe rituals. I don't fucking know. But he looks good for his age, about 55 years old, or whatever the case is. And there was his coworker that looked like she was almost 80. And somebody mentioned, like, what the hell happened to her? And of course, the loud fucking people that's on Twitter mentioned, oh, you're just an SO. How could you? Women are not there for your looks. So, going back on task, from what I saw in these particular depictions, April from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they covered her titties up. Now, I don't really have a problem with it, but like, it is particularly annoying that people consistently bend the knee to these ugly fat people. It's no way I can't put it nicely. You know what I'm saying? Because if it was a fat person, then they feel right at home. They don't say anything. If it was Lizzo, if I was depicting, then it was no fucking problem. But when it's a nice looking woman, there's a problem, and then I'm an incel because I mentioned the obvious. That's fucking irritating to me. And I'm going to be a lot more vocal. If you don't like this shit, you can piece the fuck out. It's irritating to me. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing. If I imagine whatever the fuck I want in my fucking brain and drew that shit and put that shit out there, I'm not taking that shit back. Because apparently people can imagine all sorts of fucking things, including gender. Anyway, so we're going to start with the two topics that we have here. And I'm pretty sure you guys are probably wondering, what the fuck is this exclusive situation going on? What is going on, East? What's going on, Silent Night? C-Bomb, what is happening? Hector, what's good? I am glad. I am extremely grateful for you guys to continually come up and listen to me fucking ramble like an old man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really am. I really am pretty grateful. You know, and sometimes you think to yourself like, I don't really want to do all this shit. Ain't nobody listening to my black ass, but then you guys show up and you make it a little easier. So I appreciate you. Exclusives, right? We had this lovely little conversation a couple of days ago when we found out that the part 2 of 3 of Final Fantasy is going to be apparently exclusive to the PlayStation 5. And boy, did that piss off some Xbots. They were extremely upset. Boycotting, they couldn't stay. Look, they were trying to boycott Square Enix. They were trying to do all sorts of things. They feel like it's anti-consumer. It's anti-consumer. Skip for now, bitch. Get out of here. It's anti-consumer uh, to actually have sort of exclusivity. Not only are these corporations, right? These are fucking corporations. They don't owe you a fucking thing. But these same people claim to have owned all of the consoles. That's the curious thing about all of this. It is very, very curious that you will boycott. I'm looking at you, Kid Smooth. You would boycott a company because it's not on your preferred platform. I could even see if it was a multiplayer game and you had all of your friends on one platform and they didn't allow for crossplay. Then I could be like, I see that. I see that. I get it. I totally get it. But if it's a single player game and you have all the consoles and you supposedly said that you bought the consoles for exclusives, then what the fuck are you complaining about? I'm just curious. I don't understand. Help me understand your point of view. I would love for somebody to walk up in this fucking space and request on the request lines. What's up? Who's trying?
Hey, thanks for letting me speak. First of all, thank you.
What's going on, East?
How are you doing? First of all,
I took my little nap. You
Good. All right. I just wanted to say, they just these Xbox people, if you say one thing on Twitter, they just come at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they come at you with that energy that you can just tell they don't like their own platform for real.
Then if they don't like it, why are you there, yo?
Like
Like
for real, you can tell they're just dissatisfied and just
I said this years ago, man. I
good.
said this shit years ago. It's like Stockholm syndrome. It's like they were a prisoner of war. They've been fed goop for years and years and years, but at least they were fed goop at a reasonable clip. And maybe the guard stopped kicking you in your face, and they show signs of improvement. And then when they open the gates to say you're free to go, I don't know how I feel about this. Jemiah, what you gotta say about this?
I think you're trying to say they're institutionalized.
All of them are. All of them are. I'm starting to really realize this.
Yeah, but you were just saying like how what am I thinking on how they like are feeling about FF7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They just be trying to get points like on a list because they just stay making lists. Like they're just gonna add FF7 to that list. You know what I'm talking about? Them graphics.
If I'm
them graphics that have games that be coming out in like 6 years.
if I'm not mistaken, I swore back in 2017 and 18, all these Xbox claim to really didn't want any kind of Japanese games. They called it, what was it? Jap crap, I believe. How interesting. Jemiah, yo, what you gotta say about this shit?
About the Xbox losing their minds over Final Fantasy VII being exclusive.
Yeah, you had a couple of things to say. I think you had some things to say about ponies, and you had some things to say about Xbox. But let's hear what you have to say about the ponies, because I try to keep a even playing field, not for anybody, but I just like hearing different points of view. So what you gotta say about the whole pony situation, my dude?
I mean, as far as the ponies go, I don't know why they feel the urge to always like try to throw shit in these dudes' faces all the time. You know what I mean? Like you got the game, it's been exclusive since Part 7 came out like what, 2021, 2020? You know what I mean? Like just go out there, enjoy the games. You don't have to make a fucking ruckus every 5 minutes and fucking, blast these Xbox dudes who are clearly looking for attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I just don't see the point of bragging about it. Especially this shit's coming to PC anyway. So like, if these Xbox dudes really want to play, they can just go to PC and play. I don't know why they're acting like this is the end of the world either.
What about the X? Oh, you just mentioned about the Xbox.
Because like I said in my tweet earlier, exclusives are there for a reason. Exclusives are made to bring people to whatever platform, restaurant, event, whatever it is. That's why you have exclusives. And for Xbox to try to pretend they don't know that when they're bragging about Starfield being exclusive, they're bragging and hoping that Microsoft makes all these Activision games exclusive and shit. I think it's disingenuous on their part.
It is. I posted a tweet, and it was funny because this tweet was just really honest. I wasn't even trying to troll anyone. I asked a legitimate question. What is these Xbox so mad about? When you have Starfield as an exclusive, to me, it's equivalent exchange. If you ask me, it's exclusive.
Gamecast, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think they would genuinely like Starfield if it was on PlayStation? Like if it was a PlayStation exclusive?
The same amount of people would have purchased it, whether it was on PlayStation or not.
Nah, but do you think they would be like hyping it as much?
They were trying to hype Elden Ring, and the only reason why they tried to hype Elden Ring, that was a multi-platform game, is because it was in quasi competition with Horizon.
Yeah, they stay hyping games
that we already have it. So the situation, it's so stupid. But I listened to this shit because one of the guys said this. He posted. He actually commented on my post. He flat out said, "Oh, well, it's different, you dipshit. One thing is a first party game, the other one's a third party game. That makes all the difference." And he got a couple of likes. I was like, Do you fucking hear yourself? Do you realize that the end result is the fucking same? Let's just look at it at the most rudimentary level. Is that I don't get Starfield, and you guys don't get Final Fantasy, and even that's questionable because that may be timed. So what the fuck is the problem? What is your issue? It's the very fact that it's exclusive and not on Xbox is the fucking problem. Motherfuckers are hyping up Persona. I would love to see the numbers of Persona, but we can't see it because it's on Game Pass. We'll never fucking know. To be hidden behind these fucking arbitrary numbers.
Well, if you look at the most games, top 50 Xbox games played, you can see who's playing games. So you'll be able to see if they're playing Persona or not.
Right.
You know
Sorry, C-Bomb. I didn't even see you. I usually check occasionally every few minutes about who wants to, look at my phone or whatever, because it doesn't make a sound when you try to request it. It should, but maybe it's designed to do it, but it doesn't. But it's incredible. The guy, I'm like, you do realize that the Bethesda deal is not even closed yet. So for all intents and purposes, it's not permanent. I mean, it's not set in stone that it's first party. Now it is going to happen. Don't let me fool you. Don't get me wrong or anything like that. But it's so fresh. You motherfuckers is counting their eggs before they hatch. They're mentioning fucking the Bethesda thing as if, or Starfield as being first party, as if it's been like that for years. And it's just funny to me. That shit's fucking hilarious. That you know what I'm saying? It's like the paint didn't even fucking cool off yet before you talk about first party. If Square Enix were to be acquired by Sony, would it make a difference then? Let's just say Sony just did it today. Oh, now it's first party because of this shit. Now would you shut the fuck up, or is what's up? What's up? And honestly, and I'll let you go east with some of this stuff. No, actually, I have to let C-Bomb talk then on Indian East. But to your point, Jeremiah, and you've been saying this shit for a long time, and I've been saying this, and I believe what's his name? DeAndre got some flack for this shit. And I thought that shit was fucking annoying. I really hate the fact that, people have to go to personal attacks just to prove a fucking point. But to your point, you've been saying that the console war shit is extremely toxic, especially ponies. They are already dead. They're beat the fuck down. They're done. Why do you need to run out and say that, we got Final Fantasy, what exclusive do you have now? Haven't you motherfuckers learned your lesson? Sony is not trying to do this exclusive shit, yo. They're really, really not. I guarantee you, if they buy Square Enix, there will still be Square Enix games on Xbox. And then what? You know what I'm saying? Just because they acquired them? I mean, stop it. Just play the fucking game. It really isn't that deep. The Xbox are down. They're down bad. They don't need any help being further into the fucking dirt. They don't need any more help. Just play the fucking games and let them keep talking about things being unfair. Although Microsoft, how much did they buy Bethesda for? Fucking $8 billion. They didn't say anything about that one, and they definitely didn't say anything about the $68 billion of Activision and the prospect of us not even getting Call of Duty anymore. That wasn't unfair, was it? You know what I mean? Fuck ever. C-Bomb, what's good with you, man?
Easy, man.
What's good, Flowy Locks?
Yeah, when it comes to this shit, man, honestly, I've never really understood it. I mean, console exclusives, they've always been a thing. It's that defining moment. It's like with Xbox, they've got their one defining characteristics, or couple of characteristics. They've got Gears, they've got Halo, and shit like that, and they're mascots, if you would. And PlayStation's got the same. Yeah, granted, Final Fantasy started on Nintendo, but its main home is considered to be PlayStation because it's always been on PlayStation since PlayStation has been a thing. And when it comes to them bitching and moaning about, it's not fair because it's third party, again, it's one of them. Sony paid for that timed exclusivity. So the fact that they've paid for it, what is the actual difference between paying for the exclusivity or doing the Xbox route and just buying the studio. There is no difference in my eyes. They've paid for it to be exclusive to PlayStation. Accept that fact, and then when that exclusivity runs out, if they want to put it on multiple platforms, great. More people get to experience the game. But the ones who, like Kid Smooth, who have a PlayStation and are then saying that they're going to pirate fucking Final Fantasy VII and all this lot, I really don't get it. So what was the point in buying his PlayStation? You know, essentially he's wasted $500 on a console that is boycotting because of console wars, and it's just madness in my eyes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I bought a PlayStation 5 exclusively to get exclusives that weren't coming to PC day and date or whatever the fuck, because I don't want to wait to play the game. And for me to turn around and say, I'm not going to play Final Fantasy Rebirth until it comes out on my PC or some shit is dumb as shit. Like, that's the whole point of getting fucking multiple platforms, and so you can experience multiple things. That's the point of going to McDonald's. Sometimes people go to McDonald's, get the fries from McDonald's, and go somewhere else and get a burger and drink from there. You know what I mean? We have the choice to pick and choose.
It's like the difference between the Whopper and the Big Mac. You know what I mean? Both have the qualities, and everyone's got their own preference.
You know, that's one thing I want to actually say. And shout out to Magnificent Black, because this dude mentioned something, and he said it sound lame, but it's the fucking truth. This is for all of you Xbots that has a fucking problem, that wants to laugh about timed exclusivity. You know what I'm saying? Life, and this is going to sound like some kind of, like I'm trying to be profound. I'm really not. But life is fucking short, and it's not promised. All these people talk about I'll just wait until a year or two to get it. Like, stop it. And get some help.
Exactly, bro. How do you know you're going to be here? How do you know you're going to like games?
You know what I'm saying? You better.
Some other shit's going to come out that makes you not want to play it.
Like, I would say like a month. Like there's some people that I know, not personally, but they'd be like, "Yo, I would rather not buy a PS5 because it's going to eventually come out for the PC. Why? So you can get extra 15 frames. Like, all right,
it's
if you like doing that,
you think is waiting 4 years for Spider-Man? 4 years? You know how long that is? But you know how many things you could do in 4 years?
That's not like I would say, like I said before, I believe personally at some point it's gonna be like 6 months. But regardless of the matter, it's true. You're not fucking promised. Even you're not promised the next day, yo. And to say something so ridiculous, that's why any form of exclusivity happens. You know what I mean? And of course you got the FOMO. You know, people are afraid of missing out and stuff like that. But like, if you got the fucking money, like, and if you want to buy something, you should not feel guilty about buying something at that time. I don't feel guilty about none of this shit. I bought a couple of Ubisoft games, day and date, and the fucking shit came out on Plus, or it was heavily discounted the following month. I don't have regret, really. Because I experienced it the way I experienced it. That's just what it is. That's like me, I don't want to see that movie until it comes out on Netflix. If it comes out on Netflix, when I could just go to the fucking movie theater and just watch the shit. Like, it's too strong. All this console worrying is stupid. Which is gonna, you know what I mean? It's just dumb. It's dumb. But I do want.
Is it though?
Is it? Is it though? No. But there is something I do want to call attention to, and that is 2023. I had no idea on how big that fucking year. I got what I wanted. I totally and utterly, thoroughly enjoyed and am enjoying Horizon Forbidden West. There's so many little things that I figured out within this game that I just didn't see, and I wanted it to be like the first game so bad. But they're not the same game. So I just, I call bullshit for the people that be like, oh, it's the same game with better graphics, when you can play like The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 when they just have like a prone thing, you know what I'm saying, and a dodge mechanic. Those little things count though. It changes the whole flow up. And what I did notice, right, is the fact that when you play in Forbidden West, right? And like it takes some time. I don't know what the word is. When you draw your arrows, it takes some time to like really, I think it's called overdraw, right? If you're sliding, she will overdraw almost instantly. So it encourages you to play the game in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? It encourages you to use all these other moves and stuff like that. And just little things like that really, like, I thoroughly enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually also enjoying that ever-changing Dying Light 2. You know, a lot of games kind of got hit hard with this pandemic. And they still were able to push out a game, but it's incomplete, or some things are broken, or some things weren't tested well, and they just didn't have the time. But I'm thoroughly enjoying that game too. And the funny thing is, you know, some guys, you know how much I'll be saying I can't stand Naughty Dog and I can't stand The Last of Us. I'm actually, after this this podcast and Spaces, I'm going to be playing The Last of Us Part 2 from the beginning. I just have an itch.
No,
I purchased.
don't do it.
I'm not going to get the new one. Don't get it fucked up. But I purchased the game, and like I said, I purchased games for a specific reason. You know what I'm saying? And those reasons, I will definitely, you know, there comes a time where I'm going to explore those reasons again. I just want to play the game from beginning to end, and sometimes I just want to be like, I'm in a different mindset. Let me see how I feel about it, and that's my prerogative. That's my money, but that's what we'll be doing. But anyway, going back to 2023, how many fucking games is coming out that are big fucking high profile games on PlayStation?
Like 6.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Like, is X-Men coming out?
No.
When is that supposed to be coming out?
They never gave a release to anything. I mean, it's definitely not coming out before Spider-Man fucking 2 comes out.
Yo, Tony, I've been trying to like hit you up and shit like that when it comes to the horizon and shit like that, man. I guess we just, you know, two ships passing in the night.
Man. Like, I'm sorry. I know. I see you, bro. I see. I'm glad. You doing all right? Everything good with you?
No, good. Everything's good. Everything's good. How you feeling? How you making out?
I'm good, bro. Just been working a whole lot. I just got out of work right now.
Oh.
Smoking a butt.
I feel you, man. Oh,
but
man.
I see you all here, man. Hey, I didn't know you didn't play Last of Us 2, though.
Oh, no. I did play Last of Us 2, and I still don't like it. A lot of it.
I thought you like one of those that just refused to play it and shit.
No, when it first came out, I bought it day and date and beat it.
Nice.
But there is a lot of, like, again, I particularly, if someone, all right.
I feel, hey, listen, hey, man, it is what it is, you know? You don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah. You know, how do you feel about, like,
you're not allowed to not like it. The fuck's he talking
I know,
about?
right? I know. I feel like there was a lot of things. There was a lot of ways that I thought the game was going to go, and it didn't go that way. And that was one of the biggest reasons. And then on top of it, I didn't like how Naughty Dog handled it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it felt like they were trying to like they were trying to blame people for not liking what they came out with, and calling them all sorts of horrible names just because you didn't like anything about the game. And they were protected around a lot of inclusion shit. Like, if you say, I don't like
Naughty Dog.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion. So, like, you know, let's say that you didn't like the flow of the story, right? Or you feel like the story could have had a different outcome. I mean, all the characters, their fates could have been the same, but it could have happened differently. You were automatically called a bigot, an install, and you hate LGBT. You were homo. It was that type of fan base, and Naughty Dog was retweeting things. You know, and they were just saying a whole bunch of bullshit, and I just didn't like it. And plus, my tiny little YouTube channel, I didn't post any pictures or anything about the game. I looked at the game. I did the same thing with Death Stranding. I looked at the game, and I was like, listen, this is what I don't think you guys are going to like what you say. That was all I was going to say. You know what I'm saying? I was like, they took it somewhere, whatever the case is, and my video got flagged, and they deleted my comments, like anyone's comments.
Yo, was it the Alphabet people?
Huh?
That's got to be.
Was it the Alphabet people?
I think it was Naughty Dog.
No, it was at the time when people were doing leaks and shit. So he probably just got caught up.
Yeah, I got caught up. Let's be real.
Yeah, but and like people be doing false, like bullshit, like accusation. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll say, "Oh, it's hateful or whatever," just to like get you banned or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's that crowd out there.
That happened to me earlier when the Ninja Turtles game when what's her name April, they covered up her cleavage, and I was like, I don't understand.
Oh, God forbid you talk about that.
I was like, all these fucking rainbow alphabets came at me like crazy. They all came at me. Wow.
They move like a mob.
Yo,
online,
they
bro.
are
They're just
fucking
a minority in real life, but online they got that mob mentality.
They're insane. All I put is like, I'm not understanding the discrepancy between Meg Thee Stallion dressing up like she's dressing up and it's okay for her because I guess a woman initiated it versus someone drew it. Like if I wanted to draw somebody scantily clad, fuck it. So why? That's my imagination. But I digress. I wanted to ask you, now that you're here, Tony, what'd you think about The Last of Us? I'm sorry. Horizon Forbidden West. Excuse me.
I thought, look, that game, it's a gorgeous game, right? It's a really, really, really gorgeous game. And the gameplay has been, overhauled. I believe the melee combat has been overhauled for sure, and it's much better, right? As far as the story goes, I think that it's not the greatest story, right? But it's a story that if you keep telling it, it can become something crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy. So, like, if you're gonna ask me about the story, I think it was a decent story. It wasn't the greatest story. I think even the first one, if you ask me about that one, it was a decent story. It's just that game. It looks so gorgeous, and then you put that, you put dinosaur robotics in it, and fucking, and the combat, they really came home with the combat. So that was all good for me. As far as the story, I don't think much of a Horizon story. I think that story is like, you can kind of go all sorts of different ways with that type of story because it's like a sci-fi thing. And they actually did with the second one. If y'all played it, y'all might know what I'm saying. It's going to get pretty crazy. And prequels to that game could be crazy. So I feel like it's just like one of those games that can be like a masterpiece as far as story-wise, but it hasn't hit that yet. Like maybe one day a Horizon or a game in that world with a more compelling story, maybe an even more compelling character, to be honest, can hit that. You know what I'm saying?
I feel...
But if that's what I think about the game generally. I know there was a lot of inclusion in that game. And those type of things, it's like, that's great as long as it's like people who are in that community making that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it can be respected by that community. You know what I'm saying?
I've always said, I don't want an Asian guy to make us. I mean, you can. And if you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. But if you didn't do your due diligence and you're making a story about me being black or my culture, it's going to fall flat, like hardcore. There's a lot of nuance.
No, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true. And it's not to say that you can't, like you just said, it's not to say that you can't. It's possible you can. You just got to be, you got to be respectful. And you got to, like you said, do your due diligence. And a good example, I think, is Ghost of Tsushima. Yep. That's a good example. So that's made like by an American studio, right? Sucker Punch is right here.
Beautiful and, game. They killed it. They absolutely killed it.
Yeah, crazy praise from Japan, and they respected the culture. They did it right. They did it the right way. So it is possible, but it has to be respected by the community that you're trying to include in the game. It has to be. So,
that's what I didn't like about the Naughty Dog games. It felt like I didn't feel like some person from the LGBT created that story. I felt like they wanted to kind of tell the story for them, and they didn't give the nuance. Like in Horizon, because the world collapsed during a very liberal state in that universe, you know what I'm saying? And everybody was in like basically incubators, so everyone was going to be mixed, period. That's how that was going to be. You know what I'm saying? In terms of different relationships and stuff like that, there was a lot of history that was lost, so they're figuring things out, and I like that. And I feel like they did it tastefully. I don't feel like the amount of it is. I feel like it's a lot of it when I feel like that's something that is not as frequent.
There was a lot
Do
included, right?
you feel like Naughty Dog's trying to push like a
I don't feel like it's no.
agenda?
I don't.
Because, you know,
I don't
they
feel. No, I'm gonna answer this question. I don't feel like there's an agenda at all. I feel like what's happening is that people. This is what I feel like. If I zoom out and look at the older games of Naughty Dog, a woman created the Jack and Dexter series partially, and she created the whole Uncharted series, and she had a lot of sexist quote unquote things that we would consider sexist. You know what I mean? You know, Drake looking at what's her name's ass and stuff like that. You know, I feel like she had a good grip on, you know, how each sex acts due to the chemicals and creating their behavior. What ended up happening was The Last of Us, which was an awesome game. Like in terms of storytelling, that shit was flawless victory to me. And the reason why I feel like people feel the same, they feel a certain way about the Horizon, and they don't feel the same way about The Last of Us, right? It's because humans are by nature very toxic anyway. They're super fucking toxic, right? So when you make a story, you got to sprinkle a little bit of toxicity in there. You know what I'm saying? Aloy comes off.
That's I was just gonna say that's true because that's reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So if you want some reality in your game, that's what you do. You just everyday thing. It sucks, I guess, because the thing is too, back when she was making those games, the world wasn't as sensitive. You know what I'm saying? So we can say things, or they can put things in games and certain things that probably wouldn't pass today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's in a matter of a few years it's happened. But like when you look at Aloy, right? Aloy doesn't have an arc where she's that toxic, really. As a matter of fact, she's smart, she's capable physically. You know what I'm saying? And the only real issue about Aloy is that she is emotional. But the thing about her is that because she wasn't interacting with people, because she was an outcast, you know, she don't want to interact with people, which takes away a lot of the chemical, you know, the chemistry with other people. So
that's true. She felt I got an asshole-ish vibe off of her.
She's always been sarcastic. That's one thing.
Yeah,
but I felt it when she was a child. The emotion thing, you know, when she got hit in the head with the rock and she started flipping the fuck out. All right, fine. When she got older, because of her father, it was like, you can't be that emotional and shit like that, which is unfortunate. I feel like they want too into Aloy can't make too many mistakes because she is intelligent. You know what I mean? She's a clone of a genius.
I mean, yeah, she changed after she found out she was a clone too, you know, and then, you know, Forbidden West was kind of about like, you know, she's a clone, so she feels like she's a robot kind of. And the game is just her becoming human, you know? That's like the main theme.
Right. And well, that's the thing. Yeah, and I would say she over time, she don't want no relationship, she don't want this, and I feel like they need to explore that. But going to The Last of Us, going to Uncharted, they added that toxicity in there. You know what I mean? Drake leaving Elena, you know, at the dock, you know what I'm saying? Elena punching him, you know, Sully being a fucking womanizer, basically. I say that very lightly. You know, and then Uncharted 2, he actually dropped Elena to mess with a fucking a 304, basically. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's basically what that was. You know, she was out there. She was for the streets and stuff like that. So everybody kind of liked that whole toxicity thing. And then when they started to change that shit in Uncharted 3, people were like, I don't like this game. You know what I'm saying? That's what they took away, because Uncharted 3 was him trying to be a good man. You know what I mean? He didn't want to kill that many people, you know, and stuff like that. When Neil Druckmann pitched the idea of The Last of Us to Naughty Dog, originally it was supposed to be about this virus only affecting women, right? And then some people kind of criticized him for that, and he changed it so it could affect anybody. And there are some viruses and parasites, rather, that only affect a certain, you know, gender, or whatever the case is. Fine. He got successful by making the game that he made, and other people had a hand in it, adding that right amount of toxicity, right? But that was Naughty Dog's most like prized and awarded game, and it was all thanks to Neil Druckmann. He got a big hit after that shit. So big, in fact, he was just like, I mean, I feel like I'm morally obligated to try to right the world with my masterpiece. And then that's when I feel like he kind of fucked up and was just trying to hit every wrong that he felt like society had and created The Last of Us Part 2. That's what I particularly, I don't think he was deliberately doing it. Yeah.
And for them to be all women, it wouldn't make sense. Like, it wouldn't make sense in the scheme of things. Like, the
storyline wise, no,
it wouldn't die out.
It wouldn't be a good story. Let's be real with it. It wouldn't be a good story, and that's for real. So other people kind of adjusted it or whatever the case is. But this happens all the time with people that become really successful, whether it's in the music, and it's not SJW only. You got people that was in the rock industry. They get big and they do some philanthropy, and stuff like that. They feel like they have to do something with that fame and that power. You get this.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Like they feel like they have, since they have a platform, they have to, they take on some responsibility to try to, either send a message, a positive message, or a dark message, whatever the case may be.
That's basically what happened.
So I know
that's basically what ended up happening. I'm just, this is my observation. I shouldn't say it is because I don't know, but this is my observation. And like I said, going back to the Last of Us Part 2 and shit like that. Not Last of Us. I'm sorry, Horizon. It's just not enough toxicity. It's not enough. It's too clean.
It's a little bit too light, right? A little too light. I think you're right about that.
I thought about this a long time.
In a real apocalyptic world like that, where there's a lot of survival, I think it's there. It's just the way it was executed. It's not like
I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's very
so that's why you don't feel it, because it's like you don't really see that type of, like, that's a light toxic. Like they don't curse. There's no blood. Like
now Beta.
Like that adds to that.
Now Beta. It's funny because people would think that Ashley Birch is not a good actress. You know what I mean? I mean, she delivers her lines perfectly well, but the way that I guess her lines, whoever gave her the lines, is just like it's not compelling enough. Beta, on the other hand, I like that. It showed that Ashley Birch could show that type of toxicity. Well, she was like, "You didn't get it." Remember? Okay. She was like, "You didn't get it done? Are you serious? What the fuck have you been doing this whole time? Oh my God, we're dead." I was like, "Oh shit." Aloy trying to keep a.
But they did, you're right. But she did come to me. She came off like more cowardice. You know what I'm saying? Even though she
was, but that was that toxicity. It don't necessarily have to be aggressive, but she didn't want to do anything, and she was just very irritating.
I hope it's lost.
She was very irritating to deal with. Even Aloy was like, after she left, she tried to keep it together.
That is true.
She was just pessimistic.
All those scenes. I got an echo.
Hold on 1 second, bro.
Niggas out here trying to record you and shit.
I know, right? She's trying to cancel me.
It is not me this time.
all those scenes with Beta and shit. I like how Beta walked out there. She was like, Varl, I'm trying, but this bitch, she's getting my fucking nerves. I'm about to kick her fucking ass. I was like, oh shit. She was like, she don't want to do shit. But
Are we? Is it okay to talk about Horizon?
No.
Forbidden West spoilers.
No, I didn't beat it.
But you just said that.
I'm fucking with you, bro.
I was about to say, but like,
just spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Tony, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I had a call.
Okay,
he might call me back though, because I lost the call.
All right, cool. All right, let's make sure you're there. All right, go on.
Okay, so this is more of a minor gripe it's more of a personal gripe. But once the Zeniths were introduced and how we get to talk to one face to face, I didn't care about anything else around me except the Zenith. Anything else like the tribal shit, I didn't care about.
I feel you on that. I was very like, who the fuck? What the fuck did I just see? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I just didn't care about it because it was more of like, as I was playing this, I'm like, I got a big smile, and I'm like, this is like Mass Effect 2.
A lot of people
oh my God, this is Mass Effect 2. This is great. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's Mass Effect 2. Oh shit! It's Mass Effect 2. I gotta do all the personal quests if someone's gonna die.
I want to.
I'm like,
I
oh
want to
shit.
say this, right? Excuse me, I've just drank a whole bunch of coffee. This is the thing that I want to actually kind of point out. When I went and played Horizon again after I beat it, because I was trying to get into Elden Ring and play Horizon at the same time, which is basically impossible. So I tried to rush because I thought that Horizon was going to be a shorter game. I tried to rush Horizon to play Elden Ring, and I missed so much doing that. See, you can actually do like side quests, like the horseback riding and shit like that, and not touch the side quest missions, those other ones, right? And be totally okay, right? And beat the game. The side quest stuff, right? Every tribe has their own particular issues and stuff like that, right? It's its own DLC. Think of it that way. So once you beat the game, I was like, why did they give you the flying mount at the end of the fucking game? And I thought about it. There's more side quests than main missions. So like it's almost like a reward for you beating the game or whatever the case is. So unless you just was constantly doing side quests or whatever the case is, but regardless of the matter, and that's something they need to probably balance out in the future.
That was one thing, but like I was racking my head. I was racking my brain about that. Coming from, if you play Horizon Zero Dawn, it, to me, and this is just my own opinion, this is how my own feeling, it feels like I was playing Assassin's Creed 2. And the reason why I say that is because it follows the same formula as like you can go to like the first Hunter Lodge and then ace it, and then you can actually have a purple weapon right away. You can do that, and then once you go like through the main story, and then you grab those I think it's the keys. You can get the shield. You can get the shield weave armor, and that's exactly like Ezio's black assassin's suit. To me it just feels like that. So when I went to Horizon Forbidden West, I was going in that type of mindset. I was completely wrong. It is so much different. It doesn't function like any other game I've ever played. But at the same time, everything is so scripted. It's like you have to play within the game's own boundaries, even though it's an open world game. Like compared to Zero Dawn, and then to Forbidden West. So if I wanted to, I can at the start of the game. If I wanted to, I can go to once I unlock Meridian, I can go I can travel the entire map if I wanted to. At a very low level, I can do that. In Forbidden West, I'm pretty sure you can't, because So
I'm gonna say this, right, and then I want to get the other things to the other topics. In Horizon Zero Dawn, there is a hard cap to where you can go. It'll literally tell you can't go this far or whatever the case is. There's an invisible wall until you beat the proving. That's when the game kind of opens up to you. There is still a hard cap.
Yes, I remember the.
There's a still hard cap in this game, but it's much, much farther along in the story. I believe you have to get to when you want to rescue. When you start handling the AIs and stuff like that. So that's what I believe. And
I think it starts to open up when you get that path, the old subway tunnel. Once you get that open,
what old subway tunnel?
For the old subway tunnel that was from it was right in front of the Oseram camp. I can't remember her name, but she was the. I think her name's Petra. She keeps calling Aloy Thrush.
Talana. No.
Talana, yes. When you help
I can tell you this, right? As soon as the game introduces you rescuing the AIs, that's when the game opens up. That's that. I know that much for sure. And it takes a long time to get there. Once it opens up.
Okay, yeah, but I tried much sooner than that to try to go around the map, because I remember in Zero Dawn that I could actually go around and I can unlock the I can activate the tall necks. I did that in Zero Dawn first when I was able to.
Yeah.
And that just opened up the entire map.
This game,
You can't.
this game is designed almost like a linear game to some, just you know, I don't know if it's like that with New Game Plus, because you have the ability to fly around and shit like that. So maybe they take away the invisible walls, but it was like that in the first one. It's just that the first one was much shorter.
My thing is, I don't disagree with that. Like, I don't like if you're gonna say I wanted to go to like Florida right now. I live in Colorado. I'm gonna have to do certain things to prep to go there first. I just can't go outside and start walking down the street for fucking miles and miles. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna make it. So I think there's some things you got to do.
You can. Well, in a video game, you can.
Well, but the thing is,
in a video game, you can. But like you are going to be squishy. You will die in one hit.
No, but people want realism mixed in with these games all the time.
Oh, yeah,
they want all this extra shit, all these extra mechanics and these fucking extra, like, you know, like extra features and environmentals and shit. And then when they get them, they don't want them anymore. Like Red Dead Redemption 2. People didn't want all the extra fucking picking up every bullet and shit. But I thought you guys wanted that realism, that fucking hardcore.
The game is
fucking extra graphics.
The game is still a curated experience. You know what I'm saying? It is an open world game, but they want to tell the story in this particular way, not just and for balance reasons. I like the complaints that people have with The Last of Us, where they'll sit there and be like, "Oh, I'm not The Last of Us. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking because I'm about to play it." About Horizon, where they're like, oh, it's so stupid she can't climb on this one, but she can climb on this one. Now I get it. I feel like she needs to climb more surfaces. I get that one, but it's still a fucking video game. Like even in Zelda, but
you don't need to climb the surfaces.
Hold on. In Zelda, Breath of the Wild, when you go into those big ancient machines or whatever the case is, you don't have the ability to climb. They take it away from you for level design purposes. You know what I'm saying? So like it's always this back and forth type bullshit, which is annoying.
Could you say that that freedom to climb everywhere, could you say that kind of ruined Assassin's Creed Origins?
I think
that game was still fire. That game was.
Oh yeah, it was great, but I just saw that argument because like when they were fighting around when people were talking about.
I think you're talking about Odyssey. No,
it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, they give you the ability to climb anywhere in Origins.
Right. I know it's in Origins for sure.
In terms of climbing anywhere, because you have the flying mount, you could land. I mean, really, there's collision on all of the mountains. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know. Yeah. So it's possible. So you could clearly tell that it was deliberate. You know. So, all right, fine. Would it ruin it? Not necessarily, because you can still climb places and still have a level design as well. Back in the day, they used to create levels, and they used to think about how a person would go through the levels and then make their experience there. They would highlight this thing, this rock will be yellow or whatever the case is, to kind of lead you into an area for which you're like, oh, okay, this is where I need to go. And I feel like the Ubisoft games, they just make a landscape and stamp like points of interest throughout it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference, because it's like, I feel like it's copy and paste. The same issue kind of happens with, you know, Dying Light 2 to a much lesser extent. Yeah. But because like everybody's like, oh, I've been into this interior before, but I'm like, really, in an apartment, it's the same four walls. You know what I mean? So I mean, let's relax. They need to give you things when you go into the buildings and stuff like that. Either way, I digress. So.
Yo, the thing about the climbing though is, it's like I hate that whole argument, because in real life you can't climb every surface. It's impossible.
I was just about to say that.
To climb every single surface, even when doing rock climbing, people take certain paths and shit like that, certain faces and facets of the rock surface that you have to climb, because otherwise they're gonna fall straight to the ground. So
bro, the whole Zelda thing, bro, you can do it. You know, if you're Spider-Man.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To point that out, Jama. That's the same.
My name is Jemiah.
Jemiah. Oh, my bad. That's the same. What would you call that? That would be the same argument as with Starfield and No Man's Sky. Like you said, the realism to like you want to climb up the walls. It's not really realistic to climb up actually a wall straight up, or like a rock surface straight up, or cliff surface straight up. it's the same argument as we wanting to fly seamlessly from a planet to space in Starfield, just like we can in No Man's Sky. Not a loading screen.
Well, here's the thing about that one.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why Bethesda thought that having 1,000 planets was some kind of achievement. They should have made like a solar system like ours, maybe 10 or 12 planets, have those planets curated to the max, and then allow people to even travel outside of that, but those planets will be like considered like this randomized planets or whatever. Like that would have been okay, but to have only 4 cities and 1,000 planets and you can't even enter and exit the atmosphere, to me that seems a little outdated.
It's completely, and let's talk about that then. In terms of the exclusives, we already talked enough about the PlayStation exclusive. Let's talk about that in particular. Who is this? Somebody is requesting. Oh, here we go. He's back. When he gets in there, I want to ask him a couple of different things before we move on. Yo, Tony. All right, cool. Welcome back. I wanted to ask you about how do you feel about the nonsense that we were dealing with when it came to this exclusivity. That's what I wanted to do before we move on to this other topic. People are absolutely complaining about Final Fantasy being exclusive on PlayStation and not having any problems with Starfield being exclusive on Xbox. Gary, you want to tell me how you feel about this situation on both sides of the field?
Honestly, I feel like most people feel the honest people will tell you this, because this is I feel like this is normal thing that happens, and we've been dealing with exclusive things since how long, right? Like forever, bro. Nintendo's been a thing, Sega's been a thing. Exclusive games on those platforms, like this is the stuff that happens on this in this industry. So the Square Enix thing, I get the disappointment, but it's not like let's start a riot disappointment. It's like, what's going on? Why is the game not on Xbox? I get that. I think I kind of understand that. You know what I'm saying? But it's not that serious. Like these things happen. So I don't see the reason to be that upset. I think I think honest people are just gonna they're like, that sucks and move on. You know what I'm saying? The honest Xbox people.
You wouldn't know what something's funny, because I distinctly remember not playing Gears of War on PlayStation even to this day, and even when they were third party back in the day, right? Epic when they made that, I don't remember playing that on my PlayStation 3. Furthermore, I don't remember playing Mass Effect on my PlayStation 3 either. So,
and that's a third party, right?
And
there.
that's extra third party. So I'm curious, if you are a fan of Xbox, okay, it's smooth. If you are a fan of Xbox, right, and you have all of the consoles, like I said this earlier, I could see if it was a multiplayer game, right, and you want to play with your friends and there's no crossplay, and that sucks.
That is clear.
I get that.
Yeah.
I call that. You know what I mean? I get that. I'm not even going to complain. But this is a single fucking player game. Let's be real. You have
for the you got the fanboys, right? We all know what we're talking about here. The console war people. I'm one of them. We out here, right? We're gonna. They might use that as ammo, but I don't think anybody should be truly like. I feel like if you really really want to play that game, they got PC and you got PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? That's two whole entire platforms.
I play Sony dudes.
Yes, you want to say
no? He's right though.
Look, listen. For almost a decade, Sony dudes have been fucking yelling about exclusives, smacking them dudes in their faces. Every chance they got, every exclusive they got, Sony dudes would go and yell to the fucking top of the mountain, "You don't have any exclusives." Especially when shit went to PC, they went overboard. You don't have no exclusives. Everything is going to PC, and now it's kind of the pendulum is kind of swinging backwards on Sony dudes. Even though they're still getting some of the third-party exclusives, I think that Final Fantasy VII will eventually go to Xbox. Maybe one day, Phil will go write a check, probably like a year later.
Like, does anybody know for sure, concrete for sure, why? Do we know why? I don't fucking know why.
About what?
I don't understand the whole thing.
About what?
Why?
Give him that bag.
Why? But nobody like Sony hasn't said that. Square Enix hasn't said. Has they?
No, they don't have to.
They don't have
to though. Like that's
remember when Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider went exclusive for a year to Xbox? Like at first nobody knew that it was coming to console. It was coming to PlayStation. People just thought that Xbox had bought it up. You know what I mean? And
But I feel like we knew that was like, you know what I'm saying, a deal they made. I feel like, I don't know, maybe you guys are right. Maybe they don't have to say nothing. I don't think they've ever had, but eventually, like, some confirmation comes out. Yeah, there is a deal. I haven't seen nothing like that. I don't know.
PC is part of the Xbox ecosystem, though. So I don't know why they're mad.
Yeah, quote unquote.
That's another thing.
Quote unquote, right? So you know,
yeah, it's part of the ecosystem. So I guess they're good to go.
So there's that, and then on top of it, here's the thing: like, okay, cool, I get it, but and Jemiah's right. It's so fucking annoying because now PlayStation fans are screaming, "Oh, we got exclusives again," and then they get all depressed talking about, "So I'm going to sell my PlayStation 5 because this game is going to PC or whatever the case is." Y'all need to drop it. Drop it. I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of seeing this shit. Y'all too grown for that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is what it is. So I've spoken ad nauseum about PlayStation and its reason, or consoles and its reason for existing. I don't want to go through that many menus to get to my game. I don't care if it's
y'all see the guy who sawed his PS4 in half with that Spider-Man PS4.
That's a bet though. Never time out. That's a bet, man. I don't know if I follow him or not.
He made a bet and he lost the bet, so he had to cut it in half. I respect him for doing that.
Either that or they would have roasted him forever, bro. They would have buried this guy.
Yo, real quick though, Josh, you don't have to go through any menus to play a PC game, right? What are you talking about? This is a desktop.
Yes, you
this
do.
is literally the first thing you see.
That's the whatever interface I have to go through to get to my game. It's one too many. You put it that way.
That's literally the first thing you see.
That's how I feel. It's one
All
too
I
many.
do is double click Mass Effect and that shit open.
One too many. I don't want to do them.
How are you gonna play a game on a computer? That shit feels wrong as fuck.
How many interfaces do you have to go through to start up your YouTube?
I'm talking about gaming. What? I'm talking about gaming. Like, I understand when I go to work, right? There's like 8 systems I have to go through and make sure all those passwords and shit like that. I'm used to that because I get paid for it. When I do this YouTube shit, I'm used to this shit because, you know, that's what I want to do. But when I game, I want to click and go. I don't know why.
Exactly. The key thing you just said though, that whole rant was because I want to do it. That's why you feel comfortable doing it. That's why you like doing it.
I didn't say that you were wrong for putting up with extra menus.
No, I don't have extra menus, but yeah,
you know what I mean.
If there were extra menus, I wouldn't mind clicking through those to play a game I like.
Yeah, and that's fine. I said there was a purpose. There are some niggas like me that don't want to go through any. It's one too many. I don't give a fuck how many it is. It's one too many, and I don't like Windows. So
I would argue there's more clicks on fucking console because when it first comes up, you gotta fucking hit the button to make sure you're on the log into your profile.
No, it's not. I live alone. I live alone. That shit pop up.
No, it don't.
Yes, it does.
First, you gotta click into your profile first. You just can't go into the game system.
You can. There's an option for that. It just opens up.
You talking about PlayStation? Yeah, you could go in the settings and go straight to the. You know, to the folders where your games are.
I can make any app launch at startup. So when my PC first boots up, it'll boot up Mass Effect at the same time, and Mass Effect will be open when I want to play it.
Why you trying to gatekeep? Yo, leave my shit alone. That's how I feel. Ignore my spending $2,000 for 3 extra fucking pixels. I'm not.
I forgot he was a PC guy. I forgot.
Yeah, I actually play PC and like PC. I like these rest of these frauds. So don't talk to me about
No, he does. And Jemiah has his reason. He said this ad nauseum too. He has his reasons for consoles.
Jemiah, you know, I only know your voice from YouTube. Have you been on podcasts? I recognize that voice.
Yeah, I've been on like 6 podcasts, a roundtable and shit sometimes, Josh.
Roundtable. I knew it. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but like I told people about consoles, it's like as a PC player, I prefer graphics over frames as far as the PC side goes.
Always and forever.
But I bought a PS5 so I can play these games I want, exclusive games, day in, day. That's the only reason I have a console. When that stops happening, I'll get rid of my console. But the console has a purpose for me right now because I want to play.
I can tell you right now. I can tell y'all right now, Jemiah been consistent with that. He's been saying that for years.
But Jemiah does have games on console that was released both on both PC and console, and he still picked the console version.
Why is that, Jamal?
Yes.
I'd like to know.
Like I always tell people, I think the interface to me is the most important thing. So if like Diablo comes on consoles and PC, I'm gonna get it on PC because the point and click is how Diablo was made to play. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
But
there's some
if
games that
if you're trying to play control for keyboard and mouse, that shit is difficult as fuck. You gotta you know what I mean? 'Cause you gotta hold shit, you gotta release shit, let shit go. So it's just easier just to play on the keyboard. I mean, play on the controller than to play control or like one of those like adventure games on a keyboard, in my opinion. So first person shooters definitely has to be a keyboard. Like
but that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Some of these games is like, especially Diablo. That's a piece. That should be a PC exclusive right there.
And that's the thing, and Jemiah has been extremely consistent with that one. That is literally
that's true.
The console always has, and PC always has their place, just like handhelds have their place versus consoles. All these different types of inputs on how you play the game, even cell phone games. Some cell phone games, it wouldn't make sense to play it on a fucking console. You know what I'm saying?
True. That's true. Like, I feel like those games, they make it probably with a control in mind, but there's some games that I don't think I would play anywhere else but on a phone, like Bejeweled or Clash of Clans or fucking even Tetris. That would be the biggest. That should be the biggest fucking mobile game because it's just like the format, the way it's made, you know.
Yeah,
and what you got to do is very very simple.
And it's no problem with that one. So like I said, these insecure ponies that act like games going on PC is going to somehow, like, I talked to somebody before and they were like, I just don't feel like it's right. I don't feel like it's right. You know what I mean? No, you just don't. You want to use that shit for ammunition. Let's be real. It was ammunition.
I was gonna say something about that too earlier. Like the Square Enix thing, that could be like, a lot of Xbox fans probably, the ones complaining, talking about it could be because they don't want the PlayStation gamers to have that ammo. You know what I'm saying? It could just be like, nah, I'm tired of seeing this shit. You know, it
That's
could
all
be
it
that
is.
too.
That's all it is.
Right?
They don't. Again, they don't really buy games. And Square Enix saw that shit. It was like, I don't really want to do all that extra work and putting that shit onto another platform. I'd rather just take the money.
I heard that theory around, but I just don't know because if they do it right, they port it and they go to fucking Microsoft and be like, how much you gonna pay me for this Game Pass game right here? You know what I'm saying? Make a bag. They could do that. Then Microsoft gonna be like, all right, here's whatever million.
Microsoft want day and date though, and you'll be a fool to do that shit. Period.
Oh, they nah, they're not getting that. Obviously, not right now.
That's why they didn't do it. That's
when it comes to 7 Remake, I do know that is a deal with Sony. I'm talking about like other games,
That's
7 Remake, they have a deal.
You don't have big ass fucking games going on to day and date. You don't. And it's already been discussed ad nauseum as to why it isn't. It's just not viable. It's not viable. It's not viable. Let's keep it a buck, and that's fine.
It's the harsh truth, but the thing is, like, if it was, name a game that did like blow up off a Gamecast. Like, is there one, or a game that looks next gen at the very least that's on Game Pass?
Starfield.
No, I mean that's.
No, I'll play.
I reserve my opinion for Starfield until it's made, until it's done. I'm gonna reserve it.
I think that you'll see Final Fantasy VII Remake come out next year for Xbox Game Pass. I think Phil's going to go lock that deal down. He's going to go lock the deal down, and then they're going to look at their analytics and say that nobody played the fucking game after they got it in Game Pass.
That's the problem, man. That's the issue. Like, I don't know what it is.
The problem is that these Xbox don't realize that the company sees what you're playing. So if you're not playing these AAA bangers that they actually put in there, say Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That shit wasn't charting on the top 50 when I looked at it when it first came out. So Microsoft's looking like, we just paid $30 million, whatever the fuck, for this game to go in Game Pass, and niggas is still playing Apex. Like, they're not gonna keep doing that shit. Like, it doesn't make sense for them.
That is true, man. If it don't make money, you know what I'm saying? It's just not gonna make sense. So it's just right. Sense too.
You want to know what's something that was really scary, but it was like, wow, what the fuck? Sony said something, and don't quote me, but it was just as ridiculous that it kind of blew me away. They was like, 6 million people looked at this can on this level. Like, how the fuck did you get analytics like that?
Bro,
surprised.
that's got to be. I think that's like a newer thing they started doing. Unless they could have done that and they just didn't say it, because they did that with Ghost. They did that with Bruno, and I just seen it with Horizon not too long ago.
They have a lot of information on a lot of people, man. So I don't want to, you know what I mean?
No,
I don't want to hear all that shit.
Microsoft even came out and told you how many people actually use backwards compatibility, and it wasn't a lot. It was like, I think, less than 5%.
That's
why they stopped that program. These companies may seem like they're just doing shit just to do it, but they're also strategic. Even Microsoft, like I said, Microsoft has basically been trying to hold the fucking dam back and buy time until they can put some games up from first party. So all this shit they've been doing with Game Pass and all this shit's been a distraction until they actually can get these studios fucking up and going. But it seems like they're having trouble still getting these studios up, and that's why they have no AAA first party game released for this year for Xbox, which is sad.
So let's talk about that then, because here's the thing: the exclusives for 2020. Oh, my bad, I'm sitting there doing dishes. Yes, I do dishes by hand, even though I have a dishwasher.
Oh, me too, bro. I got a dishwasher too, and I don't use it.
I can't help it, man. It's my fucking mom, yo. She embedded that shit in me. Anyway, let's talk about 2023, because that's what I wanted to talk about here before we go on to the next topic. Does anyone know what the game, how many games or what the games are for PlayStation? Let's just focus on that one.
For PlayStation 2023, as of right now, Spider-Man, right? Did that say 23 or 24?
That's 2023.
It's 2023. Okay, so Spider-Man. Shit, why can't I think? I'm drawing a blank now. Spider-Man's the biggest one.
I'm getting spoiled for Insomniac not getting Spider-Man games, bro. You know how I love Spider-Man, son. I play that shit like I platinum that shit at least once a fucking once.
Yo, what's that
Ryan knows
Capcom
his shit.
game? Pragmata?
So I don't think Pragmata is announced yet. We got
they showed it, but they didn't. Did they say 2023?
2022, so it's probably coming out next year.
They said 2023.
We got Spider-Man 2. We got the KOTOR remake. We got Final Fantasy 16. Right. We got Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
16. You said 16 already, right?
Yeah, 16. Yep. We got the Rebirth. We got what else? We got from first party. I'm not even sure from first party.
Bro, you know what? That just made me think. I think we need a show soon. That's what I'm thinking. We need an update for the big ones.
We're so distracted that we really don't, like, anybody that's a fan of PlayStation really don't need a show like that, because we still are chewing away at the fucking games. we don't. Yeah. You know, like it is what it is. Yo, it's not a fanboy statement. That's just fucking. It's just factual. There's so many different things that we have. Even for me,
I tell you right now, I see a lot of like capping. Oh, like it's drive. Like that's not true when you're talking about specifically about PlayStation, especially this fucking year. I don't care if you don't like the games or not. That don't matter. You can't say it was drive for PlayStation. The first half is good. We're going good the first half, and we're not even done with the second half.
The first half's pretty good, but when people say it's dry, I'll allow that, because I know they're only because they're referring to big AAA blockbuster games that are gonna like have the whole, consciousness of the community.
What are you talking about, bro? We got Stray, we got Last of Us, we got Forspoken, God of War, just this year.
That's the second half. That's the second half.
Yeah, bro, Horizon, GT7,
Horizon was amazing, but Horizon came out in February. That's like 2 years ago in gaming fucking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro, you're reaching so hard. Actually, you're reaching.
2 months ago is like
definitely a fanboy.
A year ago.
No, that's hilarious, bro. He's right though.
I'm right though. Yeah. How am I reaching, bro? I have a PS5. I enjoy these games.
February was yesterday. It was the end of February.
4 months ago.
March
I think. Listen, East. I think I know what he's saying, because we got Sifu, and that's not a big AAA budget game.
That's a AAA game. That's
listen.
Have you played it?
I beat that. I love that game.
Yo, wait. Y'all talking over people first, or East. But here's the thing. That is still considered a fucking game.
Yo, listen, nobody's here trying to argue. Relax.
No, we're not.
What I'm saying is Hogwarts is going to be a huge game, right?
Oh, is that this year? Is that this year?
That is this year.
Holy shit.
I'm talking about huge games that everybody in the industry, every player from every platform is going to be talking about, not these small games that are good.
Access to Horizon. That's what they're not talking about.
Horizon is great, but like I said, that shit happened 4 months ago.
No, come on, man.
Listen. You got to listen. He's talking about the big
He's talking about
monsters.
Yeah.
yeah, he's
That's
talking about he's
Horizon's a
talking about
monster, bro.
And
That's
don't act like
one.
you're not a bigger fan than Horizon than me. Believe me. Don't go there.
Nah,
Yeah.
it's a behemoth. It's that game,
yeah,
bro. I'm
and,
not even capping.
and you definitely ain't nobody in this bitch a bigger fan than I am. So
Yeah,
let's not.
exactly. I mean, that's fight for 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah, don't even do that. Here's the thing, right? It is a big game, Horizon, right? But it doesn't have that kind of prestige that one of these older games have. It's still a new IP, relatively. So you got that going on, right? You know, and it's a different type of breed or whatever the case is, and it'll get there. It'll get there. I bet you by the third game, it'll be a force to be reckoned with. Not because of what happened.
They better
that.
not drop Zelda next to that. I swear to God, I'm about to.
They don't. But here's the thing: every time they do it, every time they release it, the game does fine. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing: God of War was always kind of looked at as a poor man's fucking Devil May Cry, like an Americanized Devil May Cry, until the third one. It was the third one when they elevated the whole production values, where people started taking it seriously. And then after the third one, and they did Ascension, and that didn't work out too well. And then they did fucking God of War 2018. That's when it shut shit down. It was irrefutable for that point. So what Jemiah is talking about, those particular games that is prestigious, sales wise and critically.
That's fair.
What were you going to say? What were you going to say, Jemiah? Or what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say like I'm not trying to argue like about the quality of a game because even small games can be better than big games. You know what I mean? But as far as I'm saying, like as far as gaming as a whole goes, there's not a lot of big games to look forward to besides Hogwarts, and I guess maybe Gotham Knights is not even on my list to me. Like Hogwarts is a brand new IP that looks very splashy and big. But as far as The Last of Us Part 1 remake, definitely is going to be a big game. I'm going to buy that. But as out of those two games, God of War can still get delayed. Like,
I know. That's why, guys, just to be clear, that's why he's saying it, because we don't got a date for God of War. So that's like,
if you look at the next six months and then to next year, like, who knows when Spider-Man is going to come out? Probably September. You know what I mean? So it's like, gaming is drying up as far as AAA bangers go, when both companies promised us at least one AAA banger every fiscal quarter.
Yeah. Nah, you got a point. I think that, the second half will begin when PlayStation decides it begins. You know what I'm saying? And when it does, we're going to be excited again.
He doing that whole he doing that Kutaragi statement.
Sorry.
I don't cut that shit.
I agree with that.
Hey, just so you know, Sifu is a Game of the Year contender for me right now. All right, so
I'm getting. I've liked Stray the second I seen that shit. It's not because of cats. I'm like, like you see people online and they're like real they fanboys and shit. You know what I mean? For cats or not fanboys. I'm sorry. Let me say it better. They're so much of a follower. That somebody was like, I like this because this, and everybody like, I like it too because everybody says that cats are assholes and cats are cool. I always like cats, but I like the gameplay in particular. Yo, Link, what's good, man?
Yep.
Yo, what is good? Yo, what's going on, man?
This
Link, where you at?
Local PC hater.
Oh yeah, what's up, man? I sure am.
Local
Another
PC
local
antagonist.
people. Yo, I follow these people, bro. I'm at war with the PC people right now.
Okay, what's happening?
I'm at war with them because a lot of them they just shit on these PlayStation games, and when they come through, it's fucking balloons and celebrations all over.
Yeah, you're talking to Xbox dudes who have PCs now. They have gaming laptops. Don't put them in PC, bro.
Jemiah, I have a question for you.
I gotta categorize these motherfuckers. It's hard to keep up with the nonsense,
Yo, Jemiah,
those are Xbox refugees. Yeah, go ahead.
So, basically, I was talking, I think it was Chico, right? I was talking to him about how Xbox games on PC that are from Microsoft Studios that are on Xbox consoles, like, PC players get them for free, or they get the online for free, right? So is that fair, do you think? I was saying that's unfair.
No, they get free online play for everything.
That is true,
but for the same game, though, Microsoft could, lift the, they control the PC market, so they could...
No, I have a counter to that, though, right? You say they get it for free, but again, and I play everything, right? I play PC game for Game Pass stuff. I do play it on PC, but think about this: in order for me to play Game Pass on an Xbox and a console and get the cloud, and that's Game Pass Ultimate, which is $15. Regular Game Pass for PC by itself is $10. If most people are paying $15 for Game Pass Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate has the cost of Xbox Live built into it. So if majority of people get Xbox get Ultimate, they're basically still giving Microsoft money for Live.
The majority of people aren't using Game Pass, period. So let's start there.
But he's saying that. So
he's trying to say that the majority of PC players are using Game Pass. But if
someone buys a game from the Windows Store,
no, he didn't say majority. He didn't say majority.
Is that fair that they get to play the game for free?
No. What's not fair is that Xbox and PlayStation started charging people for it years ago. But it is what it is.
Yeah, what ended up happening was this: if Microsoft was allowed to do what they were going to do, you wouldn't get any fucking game. Actually, you just the interface that you would be paying for. It was when Sony implemented when they first released PlayStation Plus back in 2009 or 10 on the PS3. It was when they started offering games to kind of sweeten the pie. And I'm not saying.
Yeah. That just made me think, like, wouldn't these are consoles, right, being sold to play video games on them? You can do that on a PC too, right? Without the online service.
Correct.
So the fact that they had monthly games, right, with your PS Plus subscription and your Game Pass, or what is it? Not Game Pass, but the other thing, Xbox Live?
Xbox Live or Gold or whatever.
Right. So I think that maybe, obviously we're not thinking about that, but maybe that's the reason why they had to entice or make it more valuable to be in the ecosystem of console games.
I'll be straight up honest.
Real quick, I'm gonna say this right here, right? Because I think money to me is irrelevant, but like I'm gonna say this like this. I think the whole purpose of playing for PSN and Xbox Live is not only to play online, but the whole actual infrastructure, right? Because on PC, you don't have a PSN. I would have to use like maybe Steam Chat or Discord or some Ventrilo or TeamSpeak. You also use a third-party type of the third-party communication device. Sony has everything built in, right? So you can talk across the fucking the consoles or with your headsets and shit through PSN. You can send messages and shit. You can upload videos. There's all a bunch of other shit involved in the network. On PC, there's no network to pay for because
what I will counter is recently most of the community I deal with on PC side, that's what Discord was kind of made for. The whole reason we have Discord is literally to fill the gap you're saying right now.
No, I know, but it's free though, and it's not. It's a free third-party entity that's not tied in. So and
it's not curated. It's like if something happens with Discord, like I said before, it's not on one thing. The thing is, and he's right, you're paying for I guess if you want to call it this, the experience of having everything kind of like knit, tightly knit.
All guards like Apple.
And it is more incentive for you to keep buying things that you can't pull out of the fucking service either. The thing is, Microsoft or Sony don't get a lot of money for online play at all. They can remove it at any point. They get money through microtransactions. That's the biggest fucking piece of the pie. And second to place is people buying games on their store. That's the other piece of that's the other portion. So if you really want to kind of figure out what they're going to do in the future in terms of how they're going to implement this, I mean, the games are kind of used to kind of bait you into buying or being in this ecosystem. But then what happens if you have free-to-play games? I wonder how that's going to work. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's going to work like
the microtransactions.
That would work because Fortnite worked. Even PUBG kind of worked for a while. What else? Apex worked. It's working.
PUBG still has millions of players on PC every day.
These games work.
But hold on, wait. Even though you say that it worked,
they're currently working.
No, I'm not saying it's not going to work. How would you incentivize people paying for an online service like Plus or Live if these games are already free?
And you get all the services without having PS Plus. The only thing you get is the games, basically the monthly games and the online access to the games.
But the thing is though is Fortnite's already free.
You can get on Party Chat. You can do everything. basically, without
No,
I
PS4.
think that's why both companies are moving towards subscriptions, where games, even if it's not like different models of what they're doing for games, they're trying to move the value away from like the online portion of it, more
online.
towards
Yep.
the games and keeping
So
you in their ecosystem.
I have a question though. If you have Fortnite and you don't have PSN, can you still talk to them online? Can you still group
You
chat
can through
Yeah,
in-game chat.
definitely.
In-game chat.
The game chat, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
game chat.
through Fortnite chat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot
You can do
of
Fortnite
individual
chat. Yeah.
games have their own in-game chat.
So
But
it's
it's the same
basically,
though.
so
This
it's
is
basically,
Battlefield.
so it's basically like old school, games back on the
Yeah.
PS3 and those games, right? Where the game itself has the chat in there and they have a lobby, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah, like Call of Duties have in-game, but most people prefer to
right,
get online material.
they always have it. But here's the thing, though, you can't do parties, with that type of system.
That's true.
And if I want to play Horizon and you want to play Call of Duty, that's not possible. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to
Right,
be on
but
their network.
in examples, if you have friends, like for example, if I want to play Call of Duty on PC, my friend has a PlayStation, my other friend has an Xbox, I use a third-party solution like Discord, or I
And
can
that's
use
how Nintendo.
yeah.
That's how Nintendo works, and I
You
get
know what's
it.
funny?
But that's,
When I
yeah.
when I want to
Nintendo
talk
gives a shit about
to
communication.
whenever I talk to Gamecast and I want to play a PC game, I just turn on my PS5 and just use the party chat. And I was
No,
just
you can do. I was going to say you can do that now on Xbox and PlayStation, both apps. You can literally. I do that now.
I don't
Versus
know when I
Discord,
first
they don't
saw
allow
that shit,
Discord.
but that was a good idea. I don't know when I
But
first saw it.
PlayStation started doing it on their app within the first year of the PS5 coming out. They revamped the whole application.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But
But
yo,
you know what?
Gamecast, you know how you say about free to play games? I think that those games free to play, it's actually a great idea, right? Because they're making money, right? They're making money, crazy money off of that shit. They have to make
I mean, look,
their
Overwatch 2
ecosystem.
is going free to play.
Hold on, let him finish. Let him finish.
They're kind of like have to compete with that, unless that is something that they're in. Like that's coming from Sony or Xbox. They got their free to play. They're gonna have to do that to compete with those games because the service ain't gonna do it.
Well, that's why Sony. I'm saying Sony because they were open about what they're doing. This is why Sony is doing what they're doing.
But they
Here's the thing.
they said service games. What
No.
does that mean? Free or that shit gonna be in the service?
It could possibly
Think
be.
like
And here's the
Destiny. Think like Division. Think like ones that drop content on a frequent basis, maybe have expansions, other paid content.
Yep. I think this, and this is shout out to Dubug, or you guys know him, that guy Kim, right? We were talking about this shit, and he was mentioning, what if, like for instance, let's just use Fortnite, right? They have the little V-Bucks. What if you sign up for this particular service, and they'll give you a certain amount of V-Bucks every month? You know what I'm saying?
That is actually I thought about a
That's
while
the new
back,
GTA
and
5.
that is the only way that I see like a free to play game working in an actual service like Game Pass or Premium or whatever the fuck. They have to provide some sort of bonus monthly because it's not just what I'm
Game
saying.
Pass
It's gotta
does
be
that
monthly.
now to some extent.
Yeah, like you see those PS5
Wait. I'm sorry. I gotta cut you off. What do they do? Game Pass. What does Game Pass do to a certain extent? What do you mean?
Game Pass for certain games like Fortnite and other free-to-play games, they'll sometimes every month have like special content things you can just like PSN does it too, right?
Yeah,
where it's like
PS
here's
does
some
that.
stuff you can redeem, or like here's bucks, or like literally like what is it, Grand Theft Auto 5, right? They have a promotion I think this week where it was like 10,000 whatever the bucks are in
Shark points.
Grand Theft Auto 5 online.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's right. The PS Plus does that, and that's like, but in a service, it has to be better than that because those are like once in a while. I get a PS
Yeah, but
Plus.
if they do it for the service games that they have, then it's easier for them to eat that cost.
Well, this is what I was going to say though.
That's
Here's what I was going to say too, which is interesting, right? I always say this, and I always use Horizon Forbidden West as a rubric. And I told people before, this is back when Ghost of Tsushima came out, when it launched. I started looking at how the game worked and all of the little chimes, and I was like, this shit looks like a multiplayer game. And I've been on record for saying that they're going to add a multiplayer when nobody said anything. And lo and behold, they added the Legends. The same thing
the Ghost, bro. That shit, you're right. That shit caught me.
When I start seeing the charms you can mix and match, and in the different stances, I was like, this looks like they're preparing for some sort of multiplayer.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't.
Mark
Honestly,
my words.
I was one of the ones that did not even. It didn't even cross my mind at all, bro. Because single player Sony PlayStation game, and then boom, out of nowhere.
Mark my words. It is coming for Horizon, right? I'll say this again because I'm a very visual speaker, right? They're going to release something. It's going to be a black screen, and they're going to fade the Guerrilla Game sign, and then you're going to see. Let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8 pairs of legs, or I'm sorry, 4 pairs of legs running, right? And they're running towards a cliff, and they all jump off, and the camera spans out, and they all use their little shield wing. One person handles the melee, one person handles the traps, one person handles the arrows, and the other person, handles, just the brute force. And you're gonna have the guy that ties the fucking Thunderjaw down. Another guy's gonna climb down and break a piece of tail off, and then they're gonna kill the motherfucking thing. It's gonna fall, and they're gonna have like a victory thing where they're kind of like put their hands on their thighs and they're breathing hard, and they put their hands on their waist, and they're gonna be like,
"You mean like a Monster Hunter?"
Yeah, like a Monster Hunter. The reason why I say this, right, is because I was looking at the weaves and the coils, and those coils are all percentages, and they're all random. They're randoms, or random generated. You know what I'm saying, for certain places. So I think not only will it be like a Monster Hunter, it'll be like a hub area for which you can do like little hunting and do like little missions, right? Where you could get these weaves and armors or whatever the case, right? And you can basically upgrade your character, and then they'll give you like a weekly challenge, right? Where you take down this particular machine, that Hephaestus created that's really crazy based off of the end of Horizon Forbidden West. like kind of like a raid, right? But you have other activities like the horseback racing and shit like that, or whatever the case is.
People sleeping on that horseback.
So it is. I'm just looking at that. I was like, oh shit. So what I think, right? Sony is creating a very efficient way of doing multiplayer. They are making their single players with multiplayer in mind automatically, right? So they don't have to do that much work when they create it. And they get the added bonus of having all of the assets created already. So all they gotta do is do a little tweak and nip and tuck, right, and release it. And they don't need a particular multiplayer team to handle it because it was already integrated and woven into their single player experience. When you play Horizon Forbidden West, it plays like a multiplayer game. And I couldn't understand for the life of me why was it all these percentages and shit like that. I didn't understand that shit.
That too. I definitely got that vibe that this could be a multiplayer game, like just playing some of the missions and some of the things you do in the game. And the pits 1-on-1, 1v1 in the pits. That could be a multiplayer game right there.
I felt that way too, even though I didn't like it. I don't. I was like, this better not be a multiplayer game. I thought they're gonna like introduce some co-op or some bullshit.
The one thing I'll say that could definitely work, and a lot of games are moving that way. Like if you think you ever played Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 15, part of what they added was literally co-op where you could do, similar stuff within that. The only problem I feel is going to happen, while that does sound like that may be successful, I don't want, like say PlayStation does that for 4 or 5 properties. I feel if they even taken that model, there may be 1 or 2 that don't catch on as well. Like, for example, I like Doom Eternal or whatever, right? But that multiplayer bullshit that they added as an afterthought is like, nobody gives a shit about that.
This is why Sony they acquired a Bungie to figure out how to do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, but Guerrilla Games has done multiplayer before, so it's not new to them. The thing is, how do you make a recurring multiplayer game and make this service viable? You know what I'm saying? So if you want to do the whole free-to-play model, you could do it for free, but you probably have to grind for all of the, all of the whatever the case is, the weaves and stuff like that. Not only that, but you may not have access to all of the areas. You know what I'm saying? So you could either pay for the multiplayer experience, kind of like Legends, or you could just get the service and have your fucking shit update recurring. all
Yeah,
the
if
time.
Destiny.
Sony's gonna be forced to make these dumbass multiplayer games, they just better be fucking cash money. Free to play games are just not. They're just structured differently, and you can't fucking be mad at that either. You know what I mean? Free to play games are structured to extract as much money as possible from your dumbass, so you can't be mad at that. When I'm playing a AAA game from a first party publisher, I don't want to be nickel and dime like Halo with cat ears and shit. Like I don't want to do that. It's not fun.
Well, Microsoft has a propensity to like really fuck things up all the time, yo. They don't think things through. They just release shit and just be like, I hope this shit works, and it be half baked. You can't call me out on this comment because they do it all the time. It's going to take a long. Like Sony has a percentage, right, on what will be successful or not. They've been doing it with their single player games. They'll say, I'll release X amount of IPs and within a certain budget. And if at least 2 of these bitches are successful, you know, at least we look like we have a lot of IPs or whatever the case is, and we can still subsidize the other ones. They're going to do the same thing with multiplayer games, where, like I said before, they're not using a lot of manpower to actually make these multiplayer games, because it already plays sort of like a quasi multiplayer game anyway. They're taking this into effect. The thing is, they said they want to make 10 live services, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't expect all 10 of them to be successful. They probably expect 2 of them to be. You know what I'm saying? And they'll just have the IP if the other 8 fail, and then try to create another one. If you have a user base that has 100 million, and you put it on PC, which taps into their particular thing, somewhere along the line, something will be successful. Somewhere.
I believe that, but you know, the one that hits even a little bit, they gotta support the living shit out of that game, because if not, it will die. You know what I'm saying? All these service games, they got the backing. Like, it's all they do. These companies, the ones behind it, like Apex, like they got a team that it's just for Apex. You know what I'm saying? Just with Fortnite, with Epic, it's just, you know, they work on Fortnite 24/7. So if that shit, if one of them hit, they gotta back it up with supporting it, or else that shit gonna die too. I hope they don't make the mistake of just throwing all this shit out and hoping something sticks.
That's the only reason I kind of don't want what you were saying, where like they build a single player. And again, I understand what you're saying, and it can work. But me, as a person who plays a lot of stuff, like I said, Division, Destiny, like mostly ones where multiplayer is their main shtick, I'd rather someone focus on that, especially for a content. Because, like, for example, right, I love Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer, right? But that shit got stale eventually just because there wasn't a lot of new shit for me that you can see from my time. So I would rather them have a direct. That's my only caveat to what you're saying, unless they actually have a separate team.
So let me ask you this. Because, as I said before, when I first played Ghost of Tsushima, I already knew something was going on multiplayer-wise. Did that affect your experience having multiplayer? And did you like the Ghost of Tsushima single player? I'll ask you that question.
I liked the single player, but I fell off of the multiplayer where...
All right. No. My question is very specific. Did you like the single player? Did you feel like it was compromised in any way?
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you build a game with that in mind, then that's less resources of what. And then multiplayer games have a thing where it could become repetitive, not repetitive. It could become something that's like, you know, you kind of want to solve it or whatever the case is. It's just by nature, you know what I mean? When you start putting things together, it's like a puzzle. The thing is this, right? I don't think it's going to affect them because of how they're making the game. You know what I mean? And the same thing with The Last of Us. Now, you're absolutely right. The Ghost of Tsushima Legends was specific. It was specifically a trial run of sorts. You know what I'm saying?
I do believe that.
They were fucking around with it to see what was going on. Don't get it fucked up. They are definitely a company, you know what I mean, that's looking for money. But they don't. There's certain things that they don't know, and that's why they hired Bungie or whatever the case is to kind of help them with it. Because you're absolutely right. Content is king.
1 second, bro. How come when people mention Legends, they don't ever mention the fact that Sucker Punch developed a whole raid, like a whole 3-part raid? If you had friends, if you were playing that with friends, that was a whole experience. It was like 8 hours.
The reason why people are not mentioning it is because, I make music sometimes, and sometimes my shit hits, and sometimes it doesn't. Right?
Are you gonna say that it was weak?
Yo, Chloe,
Well,
if
no,
you
I'm
want
not.
to speak, bro, you might as well just speak because these dudes are savages,
Oh,
bro. They
oh,
don't.
Yeah, Chloe,
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
don't care about your shit. Nah, just kidding.
I'm not savage. I'm not looking at the shit. Cloak. Well, I
I'll tell
will. Yeah.
whoever said that. I'll tell you how a PC works. I'll tell you how to actually mod one of your games and actually how to develop.
Well, hold on, time out. Let Gamecast finish what he's
Yeah,
saying
let him
because we're
finish
about
his
to move
point.
on.
He was on a little spill that's probably gonna
So
be wrong, but go ahead.
the problem here, right, is you're right. Content is so fucking king when it comes to these services. It is very hard to keep up with this shit all the time. It is very difficult to keep up with this shit. It's difficult. And you gotta make sure, like Fortnite and the Apex, that you keep it going, right? And I'm not disputing that. You know what I mean? They're definitely they have their work cut out for them. They're gonna need to fight for your time. Because remember, I said this in the other podcast I've done, time is also currency. They're gonna have to take you away from what you're currently playing. That's how good it has to be. It has to be so good that you have to not want to play whatever you're playing. It has to be that way. So they have their work cut out for them. I'm just telling you what it looks like on the outside. I'm not saying if it's going to be successful or not.
I think you're right, but that has to be like. I think you're right to a certain extent. Like right away, it has to grip you, has to hook you in, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it has to be something that you want to come back to, regularly, because that's what these service games do. They hook you in, and you're addicted, and you want to play, you want to move up in seasons and whatnot, and this or the other thing. You know what I'm saying? So it has to hook you in right away, but there's a certain like seasons. That's a good you could do seasons. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be filled, and it's got to be enticing for you to come back and play. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that's in something where they just got to focus solely. They got to take a whole chunk of the fucking studios and solely. I think one studio could do that. You know what I'm saying?
But there's a lot of studios. It's a lot of, and that's what we're going to talk about. Guap is in here. I'm going to ask him before I go on. Because the next question I have for you guys, right, is we talked about Sony and their future projects for 2023, and I'm going to talk about Microsoft's projects for 2023. But before I go on there, that's why I said the workflow that they have going on with Sony is they're trying to optimize time and optimize money so they don't have to hire all these new people. So when they make a game, at its inception, they're going to have to think about multiplayer off rip and how it's built into the single player and how it won't compromise it. That's what I believe. You know what I'm saying? So they have their work cut out for them because, again, we're dinosaurs when it comes to the gaming industry and fans. These new age fucking zennials, whatever the fuck, they don't play games like we do. They drop that shit quickly. They don't have that sentimental value because they weren't raised that way. Everything is instant gratification. If you don't grab them for enough time, they're out. So we're gonna have to adapt or find another hobby. But go on, Guap. What you gotta say? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Before you go on, Guap, there was what was it, Cloaked? What you had to say about all this shit?
Cloaked, he was about to tell us how to make a whole game.
No. I was just pulling your leg. But what I was gonna say to add on to that, you said that Sony acquired Bungie. And that they're going to show Sony how to make a multiplayer game. Well, I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or not, because Destiny 2 did not get into a good position.
Mm-hmm. Well, what better a company that failed and then turned that shit around completely? You know what I'm saying? I think. I
don't really know. I've been playing Destiny 2 I've been playing Destiny since 2014, and I can tell you right now, the people that have played Destiny for a long time say that they say this one thing: I hate Destiny. I play it every day.
Okay,
that's the same thing with Call of Duty. That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, listen to your wallet, not your mouth.
The end result is the end result, man. They're still fucking playing it. At the end of the day, right? I think what Sony is wanting the information from Bungie, is how to continually make content. Not necessarily how to make a multiplayer game, because they know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's the content and keeping that shit fresh is what they want. And, of course, they get the money from Bungie as well. But, yeah, I again, I don't like how Bungie makes their shit. But if Sony could learn and then put their own little spin on it. Like if Factions 2 is what I think it is, you know what I'm saying? It could be a big ass, because they said they want to make it almost like a single player experience.
That's
and
going
what
to
I
be
think
bigger
is
than
going to
Destiny.
happen,
Just
right?
watch. If it's on PC
What
as
I
well.
think is what I think is going to happen. It's going to work just like the show that they're going to have, right? And just like episodic, right? So I think there's going to be a storyline with these characters or whatever the case is, and then you go out in the world and you have to get supplies or whatever the case is. You may have like this small spores that kind of like works like I think Thrash did this shit. That kind of works like the shield from Fortnite that closes you in and puts everybody in the middle of the map or whatever the case is. But just going to be a PvE VP basically. You have to dodge these fucking clickers and all this other shit as well as the other team. Maybe go out and be there first to get the materials and bring it back home, like capture the flag or whatever the case is. Build your shit up, build your base with a couple of friends. Maybe it's 16 versus 16, whatever the case is, right? And then you go back to the base and they play like a cutscene and they keep updating this shit every month. They have like a little storyline thing. That's what I think is going to be a big ass.
Hey,
yeah.
I think my bad. Go ahead.
No, that's why I was just going to say that's what I think. That's what it's going to be. And I don't even like The Last of Us like that or Naughty Dog, but I would be lying to say that if they do hit the nail on the head, this is going to be a big ass fucking game that we haven't experienced before.
Yo, about Destiny, they had their ups and downs, but there's no denying that they know what they're doing when it comes to multiplayer. Like you can't deny that. They have their flaws, you know what I'm saying? But they also have their pros. So it's like no matter how you say it, Sony can definitely learn from them and take advantage of the talent and the experience that Bungie has. That's just a fact. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you look at Microsoft, though. You look at Microsoft, too, though. Think about Microsoft. Apparently, they're doing something right because they got some crazy-ass fans, but I digress. Go on, Guap.
Hey, Guapzilla in the house. You already know what it is. I was going to just say that Sony's in a unique position because they've invested in Fortnite with Epic when they gave them $500 million. So they get information from the Epic side of things. They've made numerous deals with exclusivity when it comes to Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto, with GTA Online being the #1 live service game of all time. And now they outright purchase Bungie, so they get the hands-on details about how they run Destiny. Not only that, but a lot of people are worried about how they're maneuvering in the future, but they're totally ignoring the fact that, yes, they are investing in live service games, but they're also investing over $33 billion in single-player traditional experiences, which is what Jim Ryan went into detail about. So where we have Microsoft spending $80 billion on buying Activision and Starfield, conversely, we have Sony spending $8 billion on actual games for gamers. So I, for one, I'm going to applaud the Sony strategy because, yes, they're getting into the live service game, but they're bringing $40 billion with them to invest into that, which is more money than any other corporation has invested into a live service games. A lot of these live service games that are successful, like Fortnite and shit, those wasn't big budget games. They didn't come in with a they didn't even come in with a fucking plan.
No,
Fortnite was some throw some shit at the wall to see what sticks, and it worked because
it was a zombie game.
Over it.
It was a zombie game where you build a base, and it just is not even remotely.
They just saw
so everybody's concerned,
stole that
right?
shit from fucking
PUBG.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
But
think about it.
And all those games are just mods and shit.
Right? All these games are mods and side projects. Nobody has brought the type of money that Sony is looking to bring into the space. And I think that the Factions 2, it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. It's not going to be just a quote-unquote multiplayer game. I really believe that they're going to innovate in the space. They're going to use the live service angle to keep the game alive so that the core of their engine is continually in the conversation going forward. Because a lot of times the Sony game drops, it's talked about for a month. I guess in the case of The Last of Us 2, it's different because of the controversy around the story. But the actual core gameplay loop, typically in Sony games, is unmatched in any other game, whether it's the swordplay in Ghost of Tsushima, the shooting engine in The Last of Us 2. So I think they're trying to monetize the quality in their games, not just milk gamers with a cheap cash in, which is why they committed $40 billion. Like, think about that. If you told me you was going to spend $40 billion on 10 games, I don't even know that we're used to the average game budget being 100 to 150 million, and these motherfuckers is talking about blowing the roof off of that. So,
I'm gonna say this.
Some of that's gonna be
definitely excited
infrastructure
about
and shit. And some of that's gonna be infrastructure because of how
and some of it's going to be, and some of it's going to be acquisition. Even if you look at it, it's fucking $1 billion.
Well, the
it's still a lot.
Budget is a whole separate budget. They said this is specifically what they're going to be spending on game development in 2025. I believe it was going to total 40 billion in live service and 33 billion in the single player standard AAA experience.
So let me say this. Shut up. So let me say this, right? From what Guap is saying, that's what I believe. Like at my job, people don't understand. I could just do not the bare. I could do the bare minimum and be really nice. But I have a pride thing, and this is a Japanese thing as well. There's a certain pride. I just don't want you to be near my stats, period. So when he asks me to sell 2 units and I sell 38, and people are like, how the fuck are you doing it? I just don't want you to be near me. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the approach that Sony's going to take with these particular games. I don't want you to be near me.
No, they're going where the money is. They're going where the money is. I keep saying it. They listen to your wallet, not your mouth, right?
Right. They are going to go.
Everybody hates live service games. Everybody hates multiplayer. But Fortnite and Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto are out-earning every fucking single player, and it's not even close. But we hate live service so much, but these games are earning hand over fist more than the games we love. So these companies are going to listen to your wallet and not your mouth. And in the case of multiplayer, clearly motherfuckers want to buy dumbass cosmetics in Fortnite.
Clearly, no matter how many times Young Year comes out and talk about anti-consumerism and predatory, things, it doesn't matter. People are still going to fucking buy what they're going to fucking buy. They want it. It is what it is. You have an option not to buy that shit. I don't buy that shit.
That is true. But that doesn't, just to be clear though, that doesn't mean that these single player games aren't successful. They are, but they're not touching revenue like free-to-play games, and Sony got to go get that money. It's just what it is.
And that's the thing. And people, hold on. Let me say this before I forget. Hold that thought, Jeremiah. What I was going to say is, in terms of what they're doing, people are so afraid that Sony is not going to make any more single player games if it's successful. Remember, Sony is trying to maximize their money as best as possible. I mentioned earlier that when they start a game, they're automatically integrating multiplayer. That's how they're going to do it, so they don't have to waste money on making a whole multiplayer team. They want it all integrated. The IPs that Sony is creating with their gaming sector is automatically going to help their movie sector. And you definitely got to have a storyline for that shit. It's either going to be movies or shows. So all of this synergy that's happening now, if they create a new IP and it's a hit, sort of like the Uncharted movie or whatever the case is, that's what they're trying to do. They want to have, and it takes time to get that recognition. People didn't know Sony for their IPs until they just kept throwing that shit at you until you started understanding, oh shit, Sony is pretty fucking good at this shit on the PS3 days. Like they created things on the offhand, like Gran Turismo and Shadow of the Colossus, right? But it took at the end of PS3 with 9 years before you realize, oh shit, Sony was really good at it. It's going to take time. Now, Jim Ryan, dude, no matter how many people that dislike this dude, he's a smart fucking man. He beat out the competition when it came to the CEOs and shit like that, or whatever the case is. He beat him out because of his particular what he wants to do. I'm sorry, but it is the case. And like you said, what Guap was saying, like what everybody says. Everybody can sit there and complain about microtransactions and shit, but you keep buying their fucking games. What you mean? Go on, Jeremiah.
If you wasn't making money, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
No, I was just going to say, if Sony really wanted to make a lot of money, they just go to the mobile industry because mobile makes more than consoles and PCs combined.
They are.
They are doing that too.
Their biggest game is a Japanese mobile game.
That's a fact. But they put their hands in there too in that pot. So it's Microsoft.
I'm just saying, Well, I just said it to say that people need to relax, like with all the fucking fear mongering. Like they're gonna still make single player games for you not to buy. So niggas can relax.
Yo, Sony games, they sell, right? But they just, they want those games to sell hundreds of millions, you know what I'm saying? And that's just not realistic, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. Let they put it on everything.
Tony, I think it is realistic because it's not the quality of the game's fault, right?
No, he's talking about console only, like keeping it in one spot or whatever.
No, it's a very tall order, but they still see the third party split. So they're looking at Grand Theft Auto 5. They're like, oh, this sold 150 million and it did 80 million on PlayStation. How come our games can't do 40 million? How come our games can't do 50 million? We might not do 80
That's a good question too.
How do we get close? Yeah, how do we get closer? It's not happening because their games suck. We all agree their games are of the highest quality, up there with Rockstar, up there with whoever you want to name.
Right.
So it's not, they're not selling it because of quality. At that point, it becomes about strategy and getting more people to try the games, which is why we see PS Plus Premium is loaded with first-party games for PS5. Like, there's so many examples.
Or PC.
Yeah, Nintendo has no problem fucking selling fucking 30+ million for every IP.
They have no problem because again they've been using the same IP for like almost 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Like Sony's IPs are not that old and don't have that time or whatever the case is. Well, let's go to this, right? Let's talk about Xbox 2023, right?
Shout out Silky.
What does Xbox? What is Xbox releases? I'll put it that way. I'll be nice. What are Xbox releases for 2023?
Game Pass,
Starfield and Redfall. I think we know.
Past games.
Oh, they said
y'all some toxic ass people.
They said everything they showed at the show except Kojima, right? Everything they showed at the show except Kojima.
No,
everything is releasing. Diablo 4, that's a huge deal.
Okay.
Oh, that's a massive deal.
First of all, they don't own Activision. Time out. They don't own them yet, so it's not their game. And Diablo 4 is not going to Game Pass either because
that was my game of the show.
Yeah, Diablo 4 is not going to Game Pass, and Activision Blizzard is not owned by fucking Microsoft yet. So let's not give them any undue W's.
But I'm saying if that deal
does Diablo 4 have a release date?
No, but that's if right, and they don't have them yet. So
let them hit the finish line first. You know what I'm saying?
That shit is a third-party game, bro.
What's the release date on that?
Yeah, that purchase is going to be delayed because the senators are out there.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth Warren came out at them yesterday, right?
They're still on their necks about that shit. They're not letting that shit go.
She said she got the Dream Team on it.
Uh-oh.
Yo, you didn't see it? Let me go find the article. She said she got the Dream Team on that ass.
I think that shit's delayed for another year. If you're investing in Activision Blizzard, trying to get that 20%, I would suggest going for something, in the near term.
Nah, they got Starfield. What was the other one? Redfall.
Pentiment.
Well, let's talk about
Pentiment. Pentiment's on there, right?
Pinterest.
Yo, stop it.
I don't know what you talking about.
Stop it.
He said, "What you? No, that's
Stalker
first party.
should be out by then.
That's first party, bro.
It gotta be.
No, Stalker 2 got delayed again.
Stop it.
Jesus Lord, Michael.
You're going to tell me it's delayed? It's going to be delayed class 2023.
Yo, Stalker is. Ukraine's having a war right now, bro. They're not making any goddamn games. Like that shit is going to be delayed until fucking next century.
How much
Lord
money you want to
Almighty.
bet?
You guys are asking the right questions.
People are going to download Pentiment, and
So they got a
10
fantastic
million
year ahead. With 2 bangers that we know of. I think they got more games. We just
they don't own Minecraft.
Yeah, I'll say one thing though. Redfall, I like Back 4 Blood, so I definitely will play Redfall. But I'm not like counting it as like a big AAA banger that's gonna like blow my mind out. Or anything
How
like
high?
that, you know what I mean?
How high? What is it? That high game.
High on life.
Oh, High on
Rick
Life.
and Morty.
I'm
Yeah,
not
Rick
into
and Morty.
Rick and Morty comment.
That's
I'm
what
not
You guys are not.
into
You're not asking.
Rick and Morty
You're
was
not
my
asking the right question.
second game of the show.
What
You
is
guys
the
are not
question?
asking the right question.
Well, what questions?
But when I watch the Xbox showcases, I love to play the game of what's going to get Scalebound.
Oh man, I don't know about that. I don't think that'll.
I don't think they can't. Well, I feel like it's highly unlikely for them to do that. But
Again,
let's talk about the quality though. What about the quality of these games? That's my concern.
I think Starfield's gonna be a late fall launch next year, like fucking probably around December. Like that
they
game
need a lot. It needs a lot of work, my dude.
I definitely think.
Hey, look, bro, for real though, as far as quality, I think Starfield took it for the whole show. Right, that's the best looking game. Oh no,
Diablo 4 is the best looking game. Yeah, but as far as Starfield goes, I think that game has great bones. Like, because Bethesda makes games with great bones, and I can't wait to get the mods in that shit. I think the mods are gonna make that game fucking absolutely fantastic. Like,
yo, what's wrong with Bethesda?
Clo?
Why don't they invest in their fucking studios? Why don't they get better rigging? Why don't they get better fucking animators?
Because you want to know why? You want to know why? You want to know why?
I have been summoned.
Because people keep buying their games. Don't do it.
It's just worse.
That dude's an ass. People keep buying their games. That's why they don't want. They don't have to because
the mods are fucking amazing, bro.
But y'all keep buying their games. Y'all want that kind of quality,
bro.
That shit should be free as fuck to play, yo.
Like I'm
sorry.
For
people to
hours in
mod
the
for that
Fallout,
game, they'd have to love it first, all right? Nobody's gonna fucking mod game they don't like. Go check Nexus mods. A lot of game gets passed over. You know, it's not.
I'm not saying that it's not, but what I am saying is that, like, in terms of quality, you can't get mad at the cross-eyed chick in that building. You know what I mean?
Guys, I'm not kidding you. That if an Xbox player says to you that they're going to play Starfield, I guarantee you that they're not going to actually play the vanilla game. They're going to download mods. There is mods for console and there's mods for PC. Everything will be swapped, like character faces, textures.
No, they put the cross-eyed chick in there for representation, man. They put her in there for representation.
Here we go.
Yo, they did that on purpose. He's right.
He's
actually right. They did that on purpose. Representation.
Yeah, right.
Presentation of, hey, modders, can you change this?
Hey, my boy got cross-eyed, man.
Cross-eyed niggas want to play Starfield too. Stop hating.
Oh, man.
That bitch looked like the Cookie Monster, yo. Her eyes was fucked up. Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, the fuck! I'm telling you right now.
Honestly, how the fuck did that get approved, bro? That's pretty.
It was a race. It was a race to the finish line, man. They were like, shit, we gotta throw something to fuck together, man.
I mean, they could have cut that out though. How'd they let that in?
Yeah, just cut that shit.
It's like 2 seconds.
No, you know what it is. You know what it was, because they had a certain pacing when it came to the show. And they fucking recorded everything and just was like, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? They said they had the coordinates and everything now. So I think each eye is tracking something else, which is weird. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's tracking something else and it's giving her that look. Mm-hmm. I think that they just put it in there. She's going to be in front of the camera. We have eye tracking technology, so it just works, right? And she's going to be talking in the camera, and we just want to record this shit. And then when he put it out there, oh shit! That shit came out looking crazy. No one curated it. It's clear to me, like Jemiah said, that shit gonna be a late 2013 or 2023 game.
What if the dudes was walking with his head on backwards? Who the fuck? Like, what is going on?
I saw that. Team Thrash posted that.
It's launching in 12 months.
Yeah, but
what are you guys doing over there? It was supposed to launch in November. Like, what are you guys doing? Really? Like, at this point, everybody has an Xbox. What are you guys doing over there, bro? Like, you guys stop touching ass and make games? Like, I don't know what they're doing over there. Yeah, they're not making games, bro. Like, what are you guys doing with all these IPs? And fucking 35 studios and shit.
So three quick things. So I looked into the Xbox dev kit. Linus Tech Tips actually got one and paid like $2,000 to $2,500 for it. Okay, this thing has 40 gigabytes. 40 gigabytes of memory. That's more than like the top GPU that you can buy for a PC. And it's basically for games that have not been optimized yet. I guarantee you that was what Forza was running on, was that dev kit.
They said that shit was on PC, and that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, before we close out, I want to talk about that. Now, I want to just let you know that this conversation is going to switch over to what did I call it again? Console power. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, so the when they say that it was running on PC, they're never going to it's like business talk. They will never say Xbox dev kit anywhere in their showcases. They will never say that, because that's like a big no-no to them. They will just say, oh, it was running on a PC, because that's how they identify the Xbox dev kit. But it's basically just like a normal Xbox that you can test shit on it. The thing actually has an LCD screen, for crying out loud, and you can actually like change some stuff up on the screens itself, like give like customize whatever you want with it. This thing, but we don't know exactly how it works, because as soon as someone gets it that's not the developer and it connects to online, it's immediately console banned. So there's no way to actually test anything.
So what are you saying? What is this in regard to?
So I'm saying that when people were saying that when Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport was showing at the showcase, they were saying that it was on PC. I guarantee it was on an Xbox dev kit. Guarantee it was.
I think I've seen.
No, I have something to say about that.
Go on.
So, I could see it being on PC because years ago, at older generations, almost all the showcases, when you were seeing these demos, almost everything was always on PC, and they would, especially if they're early in development, PlayStation, Xbox, all of them were normally developed and displayed in early stages on PCs. But what they would do is they would match the amount of resources it was using to be somewhat similar to what the target hardware was for the console. So if they did use PC, that's more than likely what they. That's what I'm saying. I'm not defending them because I don't give a shit about the racing games. Period.
No, this is what I'm saying.
I'm not going to finish what I'm saying. What I'm getting at is, if they were trying to say it was on console, you can do it on a gaming PC and do a gaming PC where the resources you're allocating are similar to the power of the console. So it should be very similar with very little deviation to how it should run on the console.
Bro, who cares if it was on a console, a dev kit, or a fucking toaster? It was not on an Xbox Series X. You're trying to sell consoles. This is your 12 T-Pop flagship fucking hardware right here. You're not trying to sell PCs, right? Like, so why show it on
Game Pass? To be honest, that's all that really matters to them.
No, but the thing is, though, is they should not be showing shit not on an Xbox Series X. That's my point.
You're right.
I don't give a fuck what it's shown on. Like, they need to get their shit together and have these games work on this fucking console that they made people pay $500 for that can't do ray tracing, that can't do any of the things that they promised at the beginning of this fucking console life. So, to me, for its console power goes, the Xbox needs a refresh tomorrow. They need to undo that split RAM bullshit. They need to come out with an Xbox Series X2 fucking next week, because this shit is trash. As far as Sony goes, they're gonna need an upgrade too, because when his 40 series comes out and then Raptor Lake comes out for Intel, it's gonna really up the fucking game for these consoles, and I think they're already too far behind.
Consoles are always way behind PC.
Yeah, that's a given.
I looked into the console to the Xbox OS, and it hasn't. The Xbox OS that for the Series X and Series S is the same OS for the original Xbox One back in 2013. Literally the same thing. It's just been updated. But it's basically it is literally a computer. It's not necessarily. No, it's not a computer. It is two virtual machines stitched together. It's two virtual machines. Like it's you basically have an emulator box, but the PlayStation is not necessarily constructed like that. I'm still trying to understand it. It's more of like its own. It's basically kind of like a PC. Like the PS5 is kind of structured like one.
As a PS4, Xbox One, they're both basically PC. Is what I'm getting at.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah,
wait. Let me interject, because here's the thing. When it comes, and that's the conversation that I kind of want to have here. I don't like how slimy Microsoft is doing things, right? They literally said I get it. They may not have been, and Sony was on record for doing this shit too. Not being, not communicating to everybody within that particular conversation that it was CGI versus whatever the case is. So I get it. Them mentioning that it was on the PC, not the Series X. Fine, I'll take that. But then the situation gets extremely muddied when they talk about ray tracing. They had this guy that's a tech team for Turn 10 stated that there was ray tracing while you were driving. And they didn't specify wherever it was the console until later. And then they don't really specify what kind of ray tracing or what it is. They don't specify the resolution. They don't say any of these things. It could be fucking 720p with fucking ray tracing. We don't know what it is exactly. And none of this shit is actually clear as to what they're trying to do. One thing is noticed is that I don't know what it is with the Xbox Series X and ray tracing, but the type of ray tracing that they claim that this console was able to do, it's not able to do it. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with this one. They showed this thing that looks like 4K. You got Digital Foundry has to break this shit all the way down. And the end result, if it's a 4K image, is a 4K image, right? But they're showing PC version, so we don't quite know how the fuck it looks on the Series X, which is disingenuous to me. Then you had the Minecraft with the path tracing, which was a lot more complicated. They had to roll that shit back, and that's all they're doing is blocky ass voxels. You know what I'm saying? There's other games that have ray tracing, but there's missing things out of the BBH structures and shit like that, and how they create the ray tracing. So it's just like I don't know what's going on with that particular console. I don't know if the CUs are too slow. I don't know if it's a split memory, because I know ray tracing is definitely heavy-handed with memory and CPU usage. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's not that much better either on the PS5, but at least it's more consistent. I don't know if it's because of the dedication that Sony has with their first-party developers, where they make sure that there's some form of ray tracing. But I've been underwhelmed with that shit too. Go on.
I think it's just the way they use the power they have. You know what I'm saying? I think Insomniac are some sort of gods or some shit, or they got it fully figured out where they can use everything where they need it to use. You know what I'm saying? Because I think they got the best example of like everything working, ray tracing. The frames per second. They got it at 40 with RT at 4K. That's pretty fucking crazy.
With all that full give and take, there's just different levels of detail and shadowing and all that other type of settings they're doing on the background to compensate.
The thing
True,
is,
and like I say, just hold
on. Who was talking and they sound very low? Who was that?
Was that me?
No, somebody else. It was somebody else.
I don't know if it was me or not.
Somebody sounds really low. Not you either.
Not me.
Anyways, I want to say real quick though. I think that the Unreal Engine is going to help out the consoles a lot with Lumen. I think if people can license Lumen out and then do that, like whatever ray tracing they're doing, their shadows and shit, like I think that system itself is very fucking amazing. And if companies can adapt that type of software into their programs, I think they can alleviate a lot of issues. Also with the FSR2 shit, 2.0 shit that AMD has. Like the kind of like the deep learning super sampling. I think a lot of things like that software base are going to help out consoles have a longer generation, but I still think they're going to need a refresh at some point.
They're going to need a refresh.
They're going to DLSS on NVIDIA for PCs. That's all that is. Because those don't use NVIDIA chips and they use
no, we already we know that much. We're just generally speaking on things that could help out the consoles. I will say this: do not expect no 4K. Don't expect no 1800p. Don't expect 1440p. The best you're going to get is some sort of reconstructed 1080p when it comes to ray tracing at Lumen level. Unless maybe with Sony exclusives, maybe they'll have something else like that, because when it comes to ray tracing, you only have a certain amount of ray calculations to work with, right? And you have different types of ray tracing. There's stuff with sound, which is pretty easy to do. Horizon actually uses it. That's why the sound is very accurate in that particular game in Gran Turismo. But then you have stuff like reflections that needs a lot of rays. Then you have global illumination. I'm not sure where that fits on that scale. If it's more intensive to use or less intensive, I believe it's less intensive. But since it's spread all around, it'll probably be a lot. It's probably about the same. Now that I think about it. And then you have shadows, which is less intensive than both of those. Then you have ambient occlusion. All those things. If you try to add all those effects together and run that shit again, you're going to need some sort of solution that does it all at once, even if it's at a low level. So you're going to either get poor ray tracing, where you're not going to get no clear as reflections. It's going to be, artifacts when it comes to global illumination, but it'll still get the job done. The thing is with ray tracing, and I'll say this again, and it pisses me off because we already have stuff that kind of allows the look of ray tracing. It's just that the artist needs to go in and set these fucking light probes that are invisible to the user and make it look like shit is bouncing or whatever the case is. In terms of shadows, you still have the shadow maps and shit like that. They have ways of faking it. When you have ray tracing is specifically beneficial for the developer because it's a feature you could just turn the fuck on and you don't got to do all this extra fucking shit with it. You just build the environment and then turn the fucking shit on and let the game calculate it. There's also the denoiser, so you don't need that many rays. That will definitely help out, but it will cause artifacting, or you don't have to update the rays every single fucking frame. There's a lot of things as well, but the best you're going to get is a 1080p image reconstructed. And then when you do the refresh, then maybe you will have, and then 30 frames per second too. When you have the refresh, then you may have 1440p, 60 frames a second. And you're not going to get that shit 60 frames a second, 4K. I don't know what they're doing at turn 10, but I think this shit is extremely disingenuous. I don't believe it. We'll see soon enough, though.
Wait, didn't Microsoft promise us like 9 years ago that the cloud would be able to handle all this and give us the trays and?
Yep, that was in Crackdown 3.
I mean, how was Microsoft
it never
getting
came.
away with this?
I remember Crackdown.
How are they getting away with this blatant lies? Like, you could sue them over that. Like,
no, they're not lying, though. That's the thing is they're not lying because theoretically it would help. If you have a good internet connection, theoretically, yeah.
By now,
that's not a lie.
Make your game completely
down pat.
What happened?
All of a sudden, you don't want your game. Like, wasn't there a lot of other people saying when Kojima was talking about the cloud stuff, they don't want their game to be dependent on rendering shit in the cloud where they have to be online and all this other stuff to do it?
I'm one of those, but I don't know how many people feel like that. I don't want to use the cloud to play a fucking game. I really don't. Especially where I live, you know what I'm saying? Unless they just somehow fix this shit around here. It's just not going to work for me.
Yeah. I can see if they do something like that, there may be like different visual settings or certain like different ones where like, hey, you can use it. Because I can't see them where like if you're offline, you literally can't do it at all, right? But they may do it where like you get better, settings or performance or whatever it is by doing it where you're offloading that workload to the cloud versus trying to do it locally on your device.
I mean, the bottom line is this, and I'm just, in terms of console power, I don't know how far they can go. But one thing I know, I don't think that people were lied to necessarily by these manufacturers. But I think that the console fanboys have jumped the gun in terms of what these consoles are capable of. We had games that, I don't know, about PS4 and Xbox One, we thought that shit could do 1080p all the time. You know what I mean? And 60 frames a second. It turns out that the GPU and CPU were just too fucking slow for all that to happen. I mean, Sony, the best that they could do was a stable, not locked, but stable 30 frames a second and 1080p. And all of a sudden, with the PS5, people are expecting 4K 60 with all the ray tracing effects. Like, lower your expectations. Like, for real. Like, lower that shit. You know what I mean? All this elitism when it comes to 30 frames. I need a game that's 60 or I can't play it. My eyes bleed.
Nah, I think that gamers should just like expect these devs to make the game visually like stunning. I'm talking from PlayStation, right? And a smooth, 30 or 60, at the very minimum for now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that we as gamers should just let them do what they do with what they got. You know what I'm saying? Go based off. I don't think the res matters that much as long as it's like, sharp and it looks good. It doesn't look blurry and mushy. I don't know. I think res is like overrated after like 1800p. Honestly,
that's what's going to happen. You're breaking up a little bit, but we did hear you. That's what's going to end up happening with these reconstruction techniques. Whatever the fuck that they did with Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, I know there's a Digital Foundry thing where they kind of told you they kind of reconfigured some things with the anti-aliasing and reconstruction techniques or whatever. I don't give a fuck what they did. The bottom line is that shit looks ridiculous. Somehow they were able to do it. So, like I said before, for Horizon Forbidden West graphically looks better than and it's at 1800p checkerboarded. It's not 1800p checkerboarded to 4K. It's 1800. It's whatever they have internally checkerboarded to 1800p. And with Horizon Zero Dawn, it was whatever they had in the background internally checkerboarded to 4K. And somehow it looks better. The 1800p looks better. And that's a testament to technology and how if you keep working at something, you could do a lot of shit with technology. It's almost like nothing's fucking impossible. I've seen a Game Boy Advance run the old Tomb Raider games, the 3D ones. And all they needed was time to make that shit work. Time. So I don't know like I said before, they mentioned in the past that the paradigm for these consoles were different and soon to be PC. It's not going to be the same because what's happening is they're using the SSD not just for fast. They will be using the SSD not for fast loading times, but to load images before the camera can even turn around and put it out there, which will alleviate a lot of memory.
Nah, I would pump the brakes on that because you still have to render the shit to be displayed. You
hopefully
still
more of
have
that
to
next year, right?
The GPU is ultimately the bottleneck.
But did you hear what I said though?
Yeah,
using it as extra memory. But
no. You picked what you wanted to hear out of that shit. I already know that the system has a finite amount of resources, right? So let me put it to you in this way. If it can render 1 million shapes all the time, doesn't matter where you look, right? Then you have to evenly distribute those millions of shapes around the character, right? But this new paradigm, you can render 1 million shapes, and this is very crude, so don't take this as me thinking I'm doing
I can shorten that up for you. It's CPU bottleneck.
No, that's not. No.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It's a CPU bottleneck. It's not the GPU. It's never the GPU.
I didn't even see. This is what happens. This is what happens when you don't allow me to finish or allow people to finish. What I'm saying is that what they have with these scrubbers and shit like that is that, and I said it's crude. Instead of them spreading out all of the million shapes at once, they could put all of the million shapes in front of you and have nothing really rendered behind you or very little. And when you turn the camera around, it's already pulling from the SSD. That's the paradigm that they want.
Yeah.
It's extremely crude.
Horizon. I know what you mean.
No, that's still. But remember, the Horizon is still on. It's still a cross generation game. They've been doing it with the PS3. Oh, sorry, the PS4. We're not just talking about just having the immediate. It's like Horizon. But the paradigm is going to be a lot different. So what I'm thinking here is not just about, again, I said it was crude. What I believe is they're going to have to use this with memory management. We already said ray tracing needs a lot of fucking memory. So if they can do this to alleviate some memory, have the same amount of detail that they would get if they spread 1 million polygons out there, but since they don't have to render things behind you, that's less memory that's taken up. And it could free up some memory in this particular case. That's all I'm saying. I don't know the
My
logistics of it because I'm
recollection
not a
about the
developer.
pipeline is you first have to take the shit from the SSD, put it into system memory. System memory then is accessed by the GPU.
There's
Yeah.
other
Yes.
things. There's other things with that too. They have components to accelerate that.
Right. Are you talking about the what do you call unzipping the file or whenever decompressing the
Unpacking. Yeah, unpacking.
file? Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that is handled by the SSD and the chip that accelerates the SSD.
CPU
Yeah.
builds the world.
But there's ultimately a limit to whatever they can increase that limit, obviously, with better GPU, higher memory count. All of that can go higher, but there's ultimately about a maximum amount of whatever they can render, right? So you can make one room look absolutely gorgeous, and then open the door to the next room. But you have to close that room before the next room looks as good as the room before.
And you also have to have the memory for whatever happened in that room in there, at least at a rudimentary level. Yes, I know this from what I'm saying, and I'm not expecting miracles, but what I'm saying is that little nip and tuck here and there will help them squeeze out a little bit more performance out of the raw specs that they currently have. That's all I'm mentioning. I'm not expecting a miracle to happen.
No, a good example.
Also, ray tracing is kind of bloated software-wise.
You're talking to each other.
Ray tracing is not optimized, especially for R&D and A2. They need to optimize the shit out of ray tracing. Right now, it's bloated as fuck. So I don't see.
You got a denoiser that's going to be the bread and butter of this ray tracing for this architecture, because it is bloated. It's inefficient. I'll put it that way, as to what it's doing. So, luckily, a lot of stuff is kind of stripped from Sony's platform. There's still, components in there, but it's not like some kind of API that you can't use anything else but the API that's there. You are able to make your own type of software and allow for these accelerators for rays to be counted, to be used, which is kind of what Unreal 5 is doing. They have their own type of rasterizer and stuff.
Ultimately, it's up to the developers to develop a good-looking image and put it in the game. And it takes time to do that, a lot of manpower. Some of these motherfuckers cut corners. They don't have that manpower or money, or they do and they don't want to spend it. So games don't look as good as PlayStation 5 games or PlayStation 4 cross-gen games because they want to cut corners.
Now I want to ask whoever said something. I couldn't see whoever was saying something about the CPU. I want to.
That was on it. That was me. That was cloaked.
Go on. What's your input on this one? Because again, I'm not expecting. I want to say this. I'm not expecting miracles.
Yes, I'm saying this from an IT background. I went to school for IT. I had my CompTIA A+ certification, and I also had a couple Microsoft certifications.
Okay, you got your PhD. Go on.
Not necessarily PhD, but
no, I know. I'm just making funny.
Either way, so the CPU builds the world. All right. It takes all the bits of data and it says, hey, okay, I got the instructions. Okay, I'm going to build the world. Boom, builds the world. Then it takes those instructions from the engine. When it builds the engine and everything and builds the world and everything, so the engine dictates as to what is actually like rendered, right? Rendered or like displayed in front of the player. So I'm playing Skyrim right now on PC. So I'm looking right in front of me, but I know that in back of me is rendered. I know that for a fact because I can also see that stuff. It's never going to despawn. So my character, it's only in a radius. In Horizon Forbidden West, it's massive, but in Skyrim, it's so much smaller. In Horizon Forbidden West, I could actually see a Stormbird for about 2,000 meters away. In Skyrim, I can't do that. I just see clay. So the CPU builds the world, and then the GPU makes everything pretty, makes all the textures. It's basically the painter. So it goes in and paints the world. Now, the ray tracing is held by the GPU and the CPU. If the CPU is trying to build the world at the same time as the GPU is painting the world, and then they're both actually working on the fixing the lighting and everything, it's going to take them a long time. It will take them a considerable long time. Now, what they can do, who's breathing really hard?
Go, just continue.
Okay, so when the two things are building the world together, it will take them too much time. But the first time that they paint it, the first time they actually build the area that has ray tracing and all the pretty stuff and everything, when you go back and access that part of the world, it won't load it'll load faster. The same thing happens with an Elden Ring, at least on. I know for a fact it happens on PC. I don't know about the console wise. I just know that they had different issues with the loading. But I know that PC players complain about it a lot. But that's basically how that works. Now, another part of that is the architecture of the system that the game is running on. I posted a picture of it in the Jumbotron. I don't know if it's there anymore. Yes, it's the first one on the left. It's the Xbox OS architecture. That is completely even though that has a Windows 10 core, to where you can play like Windows games, like Windows app games or something like that, on the Xbox console. It doesn't necessarily work for Windows-based games like DirectX 12, DirectX 11, because if it was, it would be a one-to-one port, or like one-to-one, like, hey, I can pop in a Windows disk, or like a game USB, like put a game on a USB and then pop it in my console and install it, or vice versa. I'll be able to pop it in my PC and install it that way. It doesn't work like that. So it has to be, even though that it is Microsoft and is Windows 10, it's technically not Windows 10. It's totally different, and it's being run in a virtual machine, which is technically not native at the same time. It's complicated on how to actually
let me say this, right? From what I understand, when I used to program, the CPU is the manager. It gives instructions to the workers.
Yes.
So there is a symbiotic relationship with the CPU and the GPU. That's why you can't have them unevenly matched. So if the CPU can give, if it's balanced properly, it should be able to give enough instructions that will be just enough at nearly 100%, utilization for the GPU to actually process all of the instructions that the CPU is giving it. So the CPU is not making the world, it's giving them instruction on how to make it. You know what I'm saying? So you need a strong GPU. The problem with the the problem with the PS3 back in the day, right, is the CPU was lopsided. It was more flexible and much faster than the GPU. It can give way more information or way more instructions to the GPU than the GPU could process. So what ended up happening is that they started to create GPU processors for the CPU, and then just have it chewed up and give it to the GPU already processed. There's a lot of ways of handling these things. So
there's the architecture optimization.
There's the architecture is the type of instructions that the GPU or the CPU uses, and how it can process things. So like, again, when they were talking about the PS5, and they mentioned that, its architecture is different from the GCN. Yes, they could do the same teraflops, but it was able to do much, much more information with the same amount of speed. So it's given way more information at the same speed than the older architecture and things of that nature. And you got more flexibility. When it comes to ray tracing, I looked this up because ray tracing is still something that I'm not really fully understanding.
Neither do I. It's really
because it's a very complicated thing, because in our world you have a light source that emits, or you have something that emits light, photons, and that bounces, and depending on the surface, on how it warps the bounce would depend on if you have something shiny that reflects. If it's almost like if it hits the surface and don't absorb anything, then you will get completely mirror, reflections. If it starts to bend the light, like if it doesn't bounce completely off or starts to absorb the light radiation, then you'll get things like that doesn't have luster. You know what I'm saying? Also, you have radiosity, which radiosity is when the light rays are actually bouncing from one surface to another. It takes that bent light, which is going to create a particular color and kind of bleed into another surface. So think of like a white piece of paper on a sunny day. You put a a tennis ball on top of this piece of paper, and you'll see green all over the place. That will be the radiosity or bounce light. Then you have the whole global illumination. All these processes has to be split, and they have to be handled differently. They all still calculate what's happening with the light source, but the rays that are being counted can either be used for sound or visuals. And the textures actually has information on how to warp or bend these bounces. So what happens is, like what Alex Battaglia was saying when they were talking about the Forza situation, right? Perfect reflections are easier because it's just one bounce. You know what I'm saying? It hits a surface and bounces to the camera, essentially. If it's rough and you get like that rough reflection, then it has to take that one ray that gets bounced on that surface and split it into multiple ones. You're counting more rays when the surface is not reflective. So that's a cheat to how they how they handle things. So I do know what I'm talking about with this one, but the way that they handle ray tracing for everything, unless it's path tracing, which is different, but the ray tracing for these consoles are actually sending the rays from the camera, what you're seeing, out to the world, and it counts the bounces. It also needs the CPU to divide the polygons or the environment into boxes, which they call BVH, right? And these boxes kind of tell these rays what to drop and what to actually calculate. So I know that much. But at the same time, you have specific hardware with these GPUs that counts these rays. There's specific hardware in there. So the thing is, the more complicated these structures are, the CPU has to make these. It basically puts a box over all the objects. So that's where you need the CPU to actually count it. You also need the CPU or you need memory to remember all of the bounces and what it looks like. So that's when it starts to eat into how large the environment is.
Yeah.
Right.
It's eating up your RAM.
So it eat up your RAM. So what I'm saying is this: you can do a lot with time and being intelligent. If you know the basis of what's going on with the CPU and GPU and the ray traced components, then you can kind of see what you can do with it. The reason why I say that you're not going to get anything more than 1080p, because taking a 4K image, remember, each pixel is shooting out a ray essentially. So the more pixels you have for your resolution, your internal resolution, the more rays it's going to count. And it's going to if you can only do 10 rays per frame, you just basically blew your whole, I'm just using a rudimentary calculation. You basically blew everything. So the lower the resolution, right? The more it can, basically, it won't be accurate, but at least it can run in real time and you can kind of spread the rays that you can have. You know what I'm saying?
Best example would be Spider-Man Miles Morales, where they actually did implement ray tracing.
Well, they implemented ray tracing by a lot of things. The actual reflections are not updated 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second is updated like at 15. So that cuts down on it calculating, or when it bounces back to the camera, so it can kind of basically count all of the rays and shit like that. So you got situations like that by lowering the resolution, or you would have like sort of like smears or very you get like the blur or what, I forgot what the fuck you call it, but whatever the case is, there's side effects for not calculating the rays in real time. If you can slow it down, global illumination will be perfect for this, because when you have a sun moving from one side of the sky to the other, that takes time, and you don't need to update the bouncing of the rays in real time. You could do it like every 5 frame or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the lower the resolution, the less rays you have to shoot out, which is good for the system because you don't have that much to calculate, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what really matters, right, is what they call a denoiser. If you have basically not that many rays, you have spaces in between the rays. So it's going to look like it's almost like an incomplete image with holes in it. The denoiser essentially smears all together.
Like God rays.
No. I'm referring to it looks like God. Well, it's like it shoots out like that.
Yeah.
But basically, what's going to happen is the way that the system sees the rays, it's going to see the rays because it doesn't have that many of them. There's going to be holes in between each ray that is calculating. So you'll have an incomplete image, an image with a whole bunch of holes in it. Now, what the denoiser does is it smears all of it together. It's not going to be a pristine image, but it's going to be a roundabout image. You know what I'm saying? Which could help. Again, these new consoles are not good at ray tracing, and it's going to take smart people to get it up and running and approximate it. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. I don't think that these consoles. I think these consoles are not being utilized for sure. I will say that they're not being utilized to its full capacity at all. They're still using the old regime of things. When I mentioned about the CPU and about the SSD, when I mentioned about that, I'm referring to if they're not loading the things behind you, that is less things that it has to count and less things that you have to put in the system memory. So you could cheat the system by basically focusing on what you see. That's what I'm referring to. It's not going to make it more powerful, but it allows your workflow to be more efficient. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to calculate all this shit. And we haven't scratched the surface of that.
Hence why in games and game design, you're like, when you ever notice when you shimmy between whatever, where they're loading up the next thing and they're deallocating the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same type concept.
Mm-hmm. Back in like one of the older games, if whenever a game that you went from like a really big area or like a big arena and into like a really like kind of like a really weird hallway or something kind of like resembling a hallway, that's an old way of deloading the area behind you and then loading the area that you're going to go into.
It was so slow back in the day.
It was.
You know what I'm saying? So you had to make sure that she's squeezing through this area or the door closes or they'll play a pre-rendered cutscene while it loads the other thing. There was in the old Jack and Dexter games, if you rolled, right, the roll would speed you up. And if you keep doing that little roll attack, that roll and jump forward, if you keep doing that, right, you're moving faster than what the game or the engine could actually load and deload. So what they'll do, this was really clever of Naughty Dog, is that they will trip your character. Your character would just fall. And then as he's getting up, it starts to catch up with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they did some really cool things back in the day to give you the illusion that nothing was going on. Also elevators as well. Elevators are deloading things and loading things all the time. But now we got SSD that can load a shit ton of information. Even if it loads 15 gigabytes of information, that is more than enough to basically have a portion of that level, you know, in front of your face. And they're stating that it can deload and load things that large. You know what I mean? If you can basically, you know, tailor your data management. And that's going to take time. As Jemiah said, which I'm not sure if he's even in here anymore, he mentions that the PCs are just going to be much more powerful. And it is. It'll always be. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be a better quality of effects. But I think at the end of the day, towards the end of the generation, you're still going to have the same amount of effects or one off, but it'll just be a much poorer, you know, implementation. It'll be, you know, your reflections are not going to be mirrored You know what I mean? It's not going to be clean in that particular regard, or your global illumination is not going to be as robust as it would be on the PC and stuff like that. But it will still be there, or your resolution is not going to be high. So I mean,
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a programmer years ago. Honestly, God, I wanted to be a programmer. And I used to study this shit so much, man. I used to study how the CPU works and the GPU works and shit like that. And I'm just so left behind in general. But I do understand the premise of what's happening behind the scenes for sure. You know, I got that much.
You want to know? You want to know what you need to do? Become
What?
a PC gamer. You're already halfway there.
I don't want a game. I don't want to learn. Because when I was looking at the PS2 back in the day, and all those rudimentary things that they used to do, like, you know, vector calculations and shit like that for motion blur. Every time I would play a PS2 game back in the day, I'd be like, damn, how come they didn't do this? Or if they did something really nice, I'd be like, how did they do it? I wasn't even enjoying games, so I was like, nah, I'm good. I can't. I don't want to know what they're doing in the back, in the background, because it's fucking up the illusion.
Yeah,
You know.
you do got me there. I just realized that today. I'd be like, I know how all these games work, and it's not because now I know how they work. I'm not having fun anymore, like I used to when I was a kid.
Those things were so cool. I remember, and I'll say this, and I know we gotta wrap this shit up. Um, I would say this. Oh my gosh, it was so like amazing to me. It was so amazing to me back in the day when I used to play Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, and you would see the different layers of the 2D backgrounds move at different rates, giving you the illusion that there was some sort of 3D thing going on. And at the time, I didn't know what they were doing, but I always wanted to know if I could just take this camera and move it back there, I could see what's going on. Little did I know there was nothing rendered in 3D. You know what I mean? They were just trickery. But I used to always think that was so amazing. Donkey Kong, when they used to the CGI sprites back on Super Nintendo, I used to think that, man, how come any other game doesn't look this good? And they were just using the same technology. It's just higher res sprites. You know what I mean? They weren't drawing the shit. I mean, it was a lot of things. When I played PlayStation 1, I didn't know why they had fog. I was like, I can't see that far. Why? Why is this a thing? And little did I know is that it can only render about 150,000 polygons on the screen at a second. That was the highest you can get. So when you have a character that's 500 polygons, you have to render enemies and everything else, and that's maximum. I think the 150, it was 300,000 polygons for PS1, if I'm not mistaken. It's just that when you started adding effects to it, it would slow down the process. So those 300,000 polygons were basically untextured. When you start adding textures to it, it just slowed it down where it couldn't render that many. So I think at the end of the day, you can only do per frame like 15,000 or something like that. And like your main character was 500, and you had to do some of the environment and the enemies. That ate up all your budget. So you couldn't render anything far out in terms of how many, like they called it fill rate. How many, pixels how many pixels the CPU and GPU could throw on the screen at once, and it just wasn't a lot back then. So when they did the PS2, they flipped the script. You could do, I think, 15 million polygons for the PS2, something along that's already painted and textured per second. So you can have these really far out like vistas and shit like that. They weren't that detailed, but you can still see far out. But it could do more. And I was just like, when they did PS3, that's when I was like, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? I don't want to know anymore because it's making it not fun for me. But that's what it was back in the day. You know what I mean? Just know this. I'll say this in closing. And again, I really appreciate every single body that's in there. As a matter of fact, let me just shout you all out. Who was requesting? Who's this? Oh, Lazy. Let me request all of you guys out before I close out here. Yo, Guap, thank you so much. Tony, CenturyLink, I think you were saying something, but I'm not sure exactly what was going on. Lazy Gamer, yo, what's going on, Stone?
I
Celestia, I don't know. Yeah.
So I know. Okay, so for Microsoft in the acquisition, right? I think I was at least looking up because I was just curious what's the timeline. From what I've seen, that deal has till June of next year to go through. If it's not done by then, it's not going to happen. So as far as a time date, like basically we just know that like until that date is the worst case scenario that would have to get approved based on the deal they're doing. So at least I'm just getting that to say like at least by then we'll know 100% yay or nay if it will actually happen.
Well, we're just being facetious, to be honest with you.
I know.
But 9 times out of 10.
I like to actually look up shit because I was curious too. Because I know with acquisitions, I used to work at a hedge fund. I'm interested in that shit, so I just went and looked it up myself.
It's funny though because it's now you see the Xbox is like, oh, that's a first party game. It is not first party yet. The deal did not go through. Just that's why we're saying that. That's why we're saying that. I know you know this, but that's why we're saying this. This is the case somebody try to twist some words up. It's like it didn't go through. They don't own it, and Sony don't own Bungie yet either. To be fair, so 9 times out of 10 it'll go through, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't say that. And all this is there when you hear Xbox say what they say. They're not going to buy the game. They're just making it look bad. It's kind of like if somebody's like a liberal on Twitter. And you could be like, I don't like this. And they'd be like, oh my God, you're a bigot, you're a transphobe, this is like, Jesus Christ, I just said that I don't like this burger. What does that have anything to do with anything? Well, you need to die.
That's like people are probably going to hate me because I just sold my Series X like yesterday. But that's because I have a gaming PC. I never really needed it to begin with because I can play.
They did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. They completely took all the reasoning out of owning that console, other than just a pre-built.
Well, I still have a Series S for my son because I don't want my son fucking around on my computer. I don't trust his ass. But yeah, so like I said, I have a Series S.
I know, right?
I don't need the Series X. I never really needed it. In all honesty, the only reason I had it was for Quick Resume, which was a feature I was willing to pay the tax on getting it. Yeah. But yeah, that's I got rid of mine. But again, I was mostly playing on stuff PC anyway for Game Pass shit and Xbox stuff.
And to the viewers, just want to say thank you for indulging in our probably very boring conversation on how computers work and how it's all translated and how the video game is rendered and everything like that.
No, I'm kidding.
But
what'd you say, Tony?
I said it was agonizing about to play.
It's funny.
I have damn near every CompTIA cert you can get.
It's funny because people weren't leaving though. I was like, "What the fuck?" I got into it. I was like, "Fuck it! If they leave, they leave." But people was like, "Listen, it was funny." What you say?
But yeah, shout out to those guys. And if an Xbox comes at you with capping about ray tracing another game, you can just take what you learned here. Now you know how to spot it. Now you know how to spot ray tracing frauds.
Yeah, I think honestly, like I said before, when it comes to the ray tracing, you're going to get some sort of reconstructed 1080p, 30 frames a second. That's the best you got. Taking a 1080p image and reconstructing it to something higher. That's the best thing that you're going to get. Period. And just kind of blurry ass reflections, and the global illumination won't be as robust. It won't be bouncing.
I just remembered. So I just remembered in my IT class, the best way to actually point that out is does everybody remember the old Tom and Jerry, the Tom and Jerry cartoons, and how you can actually spot like a moving object or like something that we're going to grab because it looked different.
Oh
in the
yeah.
It looks exactly like that. It'll look exactly like that.
That happens with what do you call it? You remember old PlayStation 1 games?
Yes.
Where you're sitting there trying to solve a puzzle and you need an object, right? And the object was lit differently from the environment. So it just stood out. You're like, oh, I'm supposed to pick up this. It was so cheap because that's how I figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Now we got more of a unified lighting engine, so that kind of works there. I'm gonna say this though. Guap, always a pleasure. You need to be around here more often. CenturyLink, Cloak, Stone, Thrash, Celestia, what do you call it? Gen X 128, Addy. Thank you for the follow. I followed you back, Nelson. Cygnus. I don't know. I never know. I know who you are, but I don't know how to say your name. Reckon, Adam, Link. Thank you for listening. KC, Robert, Vic. Final Fantasy 14 ad with the cigarette. I see you. Immortal, Akira, Alpha Rogue, 4KS. I know who you are. You keep switching your shit up. Mars, Nash, Terrell, and Joshua. I appreciate all you guys. I'm gonna go to the
down there too.
What do you say?
King Thrash.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I see him. He's
Yeah,
in the hills.
Upper Room too. There's Upper Room and Joshua.
I said Joshua. Upper Room. Double Shooter. That's on YouTube. You know, I appreciate that shit. You enjoy it. You gotta tell me what you actually enjoy. Or probably the tech talk or whatever the case is. I just, like I said, I don't like talking a lot about it because people be like, either they be, I be knowing what I be saying. I had to check people because people be thinking I'll just be just out here. Like I try to know what I know. I'll put it that way.
Oh, and I also wanted to shout out Porter Rock's PC that I'm designing for him.
Oh no, we don't do Porter Rock here.
Oh, that's too bad.
That motherfucker blocked me for unknown reasons. Absolutely not. Then didn't do anything to him. I think it's because I'm not Puerto Rican, but we will digress. I think I don't know what it is. I didn't say anything to this motherfucker, so there it is. You know what I'm saying? Years ago, I did ask him to be on this podcast. That motherfucker ignored me, but Thrash let me on, so there's that. It was a much better platform as it is. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys, and happy gaming. I'm going to play, shockingly, The Last of Us Part 2 from the beginning.
Enjoy it.
I played it before. I have a new mindset. Put it that way.
I'll actually enjoy it this time.
I'm curious if they're trying to get the new 40 or the new graphics cards when they come out eventually this year.
I heard they got delayed.
Well, whenever they come out, I have a 3080 for now, but I'm gonna get whatever the equivalent 4080 or whatever it is.
Okay, somebody tell me how good is my GPU for my laptop is. It's a 3050 NVIDIA.
3050?
If you're doing 1080p, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's a 1080p monitor, so.
Yeah, you're good. I got a 3060 Ti, I think, in my laptop.
Okay, cool.
Last couple of generations have been more about the 1440 to 4K, not really 1080.
Well, like I said before, this particular computer is meant for like stuff like what we're doing now. Like, you know, I'm not using this as a gaming computer at all. I will start. Well, I was thinking when I bought this computer to use it as an emulator for old PlayStation 2 games that I've always wanted to kind of try out, and PS1 games. So I know that'll smash everything. What's in here will smash everything.
Damn Steam Deck pre-order.
See, man, Sony needs to go back and make another Vita or something like that, man, and just have it play PS4 games. That would be really nice.
Whatever happened to PS Now going on to mobile? Like kind of like the competitor to Game Pass for mobile.
They did, but there are actual what do you call it? Licenses. So for instance, like I work for a company, right? And you got to pay them to put your shit on their platform, and the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
So they couldn't put PS Now on Samsung or I think Apple would have been the hardest.
No, they did. They did put it on. They did do it. Yeah, they did. They did it for the TVs, and then I guess they were asking for too much money or whatever, and they just removed it. It was just like, well, fuck you. You know
it's the same reason why on iOS you can't have Game Pass. You have to do it within a browser because they wanted them to rate each individual game and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, think about like this, right? If you have a Roku stick or a Fire Stick, only certain apps are available on there. You know what I'm saying? On those things, like, you know, Disney Plus was one of those things that was late to the game. because they want to curate a particular experience. So like, it's not just, it can run it, of course, but there's a lot of legal bullshit, red tape that fucks everything up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember back in the day, PlayStation Home. You remember that shit where they said that you could basically buy a TV set, and whatever was on your hard drive, you should be able to broadcast that to everybody. And they was like, "Fuck that!" All those publishers and people that created the content, they was like, "You're not doing that with our stuff. That's sharing." And yeah, no, because we want everybody to purchase it. We don't want no sharing. So it's a lot of stupid ass red tape. You know what I'm saying? That's why YouTube back in the day used to be able to play music on there.
You remember what Sling TV used to originally be?
Say again?
Or like what Sling TV originally was?
Yeah. Yep. And YouTube, like I said before, YouTube, you was able to play a lot of shit. And they said, no. You know what I mean? We don't want you to fucking do it. You know, because these people want their money. It's just, businesses can be ugly. Let's put it that way. By the way, thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. Damn, y'all fucking play games, Nancy. Shit. Play games. I'll follow you though. For the next one. I'll follow you. Shit. Stop talking about games and play it. I'm trying to play The Last of Us Part 2 so I can be depressed again.